Welcome to College Football Monday, a Sons of Saturday live show brought to you by Jack and Coke. I am your host, Pete B. I've got Sam Jesse here, and we are live, and this is a big night, Sam. This is something we've been waiting for a long time. This is our national show, but you all know what I'm referring to. We are going to start with VT Corner because James Franklin has been hired by Virginia Tech to be our next head coach. A monumental day. This is a big day.
It is one of the most pivotal days in Virginia Tech athletics history. I would say without a doubt, it's the most pivotal non-game day in Virginia Tech athletics history. And it is going to be the talk of college football for at least the rest of this week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's already making the rounds across social media. I'm going through some of the comments now, putting them on the screen. Thanks for everyone who's hopping in. Please feel free to hop in the chat. Send us any reactions. Send us some excitement. Send us a question. Make sure to like the video and subscribe. But yes, we are going to be doing VT Corner right off the bat. Well, we got one here from Chris Madden, the day we've all been waiting on, from Robert Lawson. Natty in 5 years. Hell yeah, Robert. Let's bring it home. SVT Junkie, let's go. Tim Tishman, one of our loyal listeners. Woo! And a let's go Hokies from him. Home run hire from Adam McGuire. That rhymes. And another turkey trot here from Tim Tishman. Paul Chapman. What's Franklin's record next year? Oh boy, we're really jumping in.
Doug Bowman was actually today put out a poll, and Doug Bowman, who does an amazing stuff, but he was like, how many big game losses for Franklin until Hokies fans get word?
I mean,
not now.
Look at this. We got Billy Tuesday here with an Ohio State Buckeye as his avatar. Great hire for both parties.
I think
Billy likes it because they beat Franklin a ton of times. Hannah Southard, she's one of our listeners too. My hopes are high, hopefully not to be crushed within 3 years. Yeah, Hannah, we're all with you there. And we might do a little bit of things to be potential concerns down the road later in the show. Later in the show. For now, we're celebrating the new hire. Penn State, get ready for the roster raid from Nick W. Yeah, I love that. Denzel Jones, is it too soon to discuss coordinators? Never too soon.
No.
We were talking about him today. Thank you, everyone. This is a slew of comments here. I've never been more excited for the transfer portal. Kevin Smith, I am with you. I am with you on that one. As a Penn State fan, thank you for only $9 million buyout. Now, that is the rumor on the or maybe not even the rumor, maybe the report. My phone's been blowing up. I'm sure Sam's phone's been blowing up.
I haven't, I was periodically checking my phone as much as I could at the office today, and literally had a 15-minute check-in meeting from 4 to 4:15. I check at 4 o'clock, nothing. I get back at 4:15, and I have over 600 text messages.
600? That's a
yes. I was, oh my gosh, this has been a whirlwind. I mean, between this, getting this show ready, we're an hour early tonight, working on articles on the website, working on making sure we're at the press conference on Wednesday at noon. Just a hurricane.
You see this coming on the screen right now? Best way to give money to VT football. And that is actually a really good question, and something we will talk about as we're going through some of the benefits of having James Franklin, because Sam, there's always been the Hokie Club, but then it was Triumph and NIL, and then it was this or that, a Reach for Excellence campaign. Where should people put their money? It's a very valuable question, because I heard from a lot of people before this even happened, if we get Franklin, I'm donating, I'm buying season tickets, I'm doing all this stuff. And so the school definitely needs to get the messaging out on where to put the money. And if or you're seeing it on X or whatever, put it in the chat, because I'm going to be quite honest, I don't know where the best place is as of this very moment. All right, Sam, give us a cheers. We got to kick this thing off.
I in my rush, I don't have my beer. I will get my beer. Okay. James Franklin's the head coach of Virginia Tech football.
Cheers to that. Go grab your beer.
Go grab my beer.
Actually, what I'm going to do too is I brought a little bit of of this to the party because when we fired our last coach, Coach Brent Pry, I was drinking some Wild Turkey 101. It was being poured on the podcast. And it's weird. And me and Sam are going to talk about this to go from Pry, who was James Franklin's primary mentor, good buddy, came over from Penn State, brought a lot of Penn State people with him. And now we're hiring James Franklin. That aspect is very strange. And we saw the one comment saying Pry as DC, which has been a joke I've heard 200 times over the past month if we were to get James Franklin. Pry will not be our DC. Would he be on staff? Shoot, I don't know if he'd be on staff. It's a possibility. And that's kind of where I want to start with this, Sam. If you want to, I'm going to pour this. Let's do a cheers.
I
Cheers,
hope that
buddy.
sounds good. Cheers, man. Oh my goodness. This is a 2-beer episode, Pete.
Definitely. Because not only are we doing Franklin reaction, we got an interview with Coach Eugene Chung of the Delaware State Hornets coming up at 8:30. That's going to be fun. We're going to have some of our other boys hop in the chat at about 7:25, 7:30, 7:45. A couple of the SOS team members will be hopping in to give a reaction. Oh, we got a prost here, some cheers.
Oh, sorry. Hannah, I wanted to put this up there. I wish I had as many friends as Sam. It's the same like 12 or 13 people. It's not like this wide breadth of friend group. It is the same. It's, man, this is what a wild day, man.
So, and this is funny. So the next announcement is Babcock getting axed. We're going to talk about Witt and the committee and kind of some of the stuff that went into this. So let's go. Hop in the chat, like the video, subscribe. The committee got their guy, Sam, and they said as much in this post. Hokie Nation, we got our guy. Coach Franklin's here to win with the welcome home graphic so many of us saw on the Slack leak from last night.
Oh my God, dude. That's a legendary Slack leak. That's his okay, conspiracy theory, purposeful leak.
No. Not a chance. They wouldn't want like all those people's names that were in the sidebar of that thing. Like
true.
That was real. That was not a fake leak. That was
real. That was real. I mean, we heard. So I guess we can go ahead and not going to cite any sources, but 3 weeks ago today, we were expecting it to happen, and we had been told, hey, there is a verbal agreement between the two parties. Like they've talked, they've worked things out. They know the number. They know what else they want. They know how they want to structure things. They've talked. They're ready to go. We're waiting on a final signature. That was 3 weeks ago.
Well,
and we've just been sitting on that. And it's been like, man, it was such a weird time frame here. And I don't really know the exact reason about why.
Well, let's just go back to the beginning real quick. When Franklin got fired from Penn State, we did hear like, oh man, that would be a really good hire for Virginia Tech from just a couple places, but it seemed like a complete and total long shot because of the Pry connection, because he might be too high profile for us. He just got fired. Is he going to take a year off and do TV? All that kind of thing. And it just didn't seem like it was going to happen. And for a while, that's kind of where we all were. And like, I would almost say inconceivable. Like it didn't ever seem like a real thing until 3 weeks ago tonight, when it started to happen on the boards and Colby put out his Colby's Corner saying it might be a possibility. That was 3 weeks ago tonight. And the whisper started, the smoke signals were out there, just the things that you were saying. And then we had Friday night with him at the ODU game, stalking the sidelines for maybe his new quarterback. No, I'm kidding there. But he's there to, well, maybe not. But he's there to support his friend Ricky Ronnie. But he's in Virginia, right? And he's in a public, very public place. People are taking pictures of him, posting them online. I think some people from our boards were taking pictures of him and posting them. And then Saturday morning comes and we get Thamel on game day saying the two sides are in the early stages, which was total BS, of talks. And that part of it to me seemed like, okay, this is agent related, right? Like we're getting it out there. They're in early talks. So if any other schools want to make this last ditch effort to come in and give Franklin a Godfather offer, now's your chance. That's how I viewed that Saturday morning thing.
Hell yeah, Austin. But
Austin says there. It's shower beer time. No water in here for right now, but I am enjoying some liquor.
So there's a couple comments here like, hey, this is because Auburn and Florida State didn't fire their guy. Florida said no. Auburn said no, et cetera, et cetera. We were told there was a verbal agreement before those jobs were even open, except for Arkansas. Arkansas was open. So that leads me to believe that this was in the works before then. Now, did Franklin wait in order to see what happened with those jobs and talk with those jobs? I'm sure he did, as he should have. I mean, this whole time we were like, it would be stupid for him personally to sign on to Virginia Tech that quickly. So look, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. And at the end of the day, I think it's almost a statement of fact that your path to competing for a national championship is probably better at Virginia Tech than it is at Arkansas.
Yes.
Better than Auburn? Probably not. Probably not better than Auburn. But Arkansas,
hard to say. Depends. If Auburn's going to be an institutional mess, then
that's
maybe,
right. I mean, Auburn's
which they have been.
I mean, we're not much, right?
No, I mean, we have our own mess, but you know what? That's part of what goes
messy
into this. Yes.
Yeah.
But it's funny because the Thamel thing on Saturday, that was like almost in direct contrast to the Bruce Feldman Athletic article on Friday, which basically said the Hokies are ready to move on in their search. Like, I don't even know if you saw the Feldman thing. A few people were talking about it, but it was basically like two sides leaking two different things. That's how I felt it. Like the school leaked something to Feldman saying we're ready to move on. The agent leaked something to Thamel saying, hey, my guy might get hired here. You better hop in and give me an offer. And we're playing Florida State that night. A lot was made of, should the Hokies lose? Because if Florida State loses, then they're going to fire Norvell and we're going to lose Franklin. That all seemed a little bit nuts, but it was definitely a thing. Brett McMurphy tweeted it out.
I mean, losing, we got you.
We can take care of that. And it was
losing
funny because
Florida State, not a problem, Pete.
It was in the first half of that game too. Like, I think Don V put out a tweet saying like, I want both of these coaches investigated or both of these teams because they both look like they were throwing the game. God, but I assure you, both teams are just not good.
Yeah. I will get into, we have, gosh, I didn't even think about reviewing the Florida State game.
No,
that's where my mind's at. Like,
that's going to be a Wednesday thing. That's going to be a Wednesday.
I mean, tune in too deep on Wednesday night. Publishing Wednesday night, Thursday morning.
Yeah. So the Board of Visitors had a meeting today, Sam, and I think that was the final step and why we heard tonight, because around midday lunchtime, they got wind of what the final contract was, because I think there were a few final demands from Franklin, and they have to approve this thing because it's a gargantuan investment. And we don't know the exact numbers as of right now. We will soon. But it's going to be big. It's going to be $80 million probably or more. A lot of years, a lot of money per year. And yes, Penn State is picking up $9 million of the tab because of the offsetting. So, hey, look at it this way. We're getting 1 year free of James Franklin.
I also think it's interesting. We talked about this kind of to go back to what you said about the donation. Where do people need to? I would expect Hokie Club and that process to be a little different now with James Franklin. It was something that I think Brent Pry tried to get under his belt, but unfortunately, because of non-football related issues in the Virginia Tech athletic department, they had some issues really bringing in and retaining talent for those roles. And the Hokie Club has not been working at full headcount capacity for quite some time now. I think with the new investment in the athletic department, they will be able to do that. And you will see a much more strategic and much more focused Hokie Club and Triumph NIL and whatever the heck you want to call it. I don't even know if Triumph is going to be like a thing moving forward. I'm not even
Who
going to
knows?
bother
Especially
with
with
the
the
NIL
rev
space.
share, right?
Yeah. So I really do think it is going to be, if you're looking to invest in the Hokie Club and you're looking to support the Hokies, there will be a much cleaner and straightforward path for you to do so in a way that does impact winning on the football field. Arkansas fans aren't. I always thought the Arkansas stuff was more like meme account. I never really saw serious reporters and serious Arkansas, insiders
Oh my gosh,
say
look
that
at
James
this.
Franklin was a fan.
Triumph already released Franklin merch. Are you sure you're not talking about the SWVAshop.com? Because I know Jason got a shirt out there quick today. Shout out to the Southwest VA Shop, who I am wearing. Let me put this down so I
Good
can show you guys
transition.
in full. Like, this is the new jam right here. Tech Till We Die hoodie. I love this thing. The actual hoodie itself is super nice. Like, it's a nice black hoodie with the high quality silk screen on it. Tech Till We Die shirts available at the swvashop.com.
Tingling.
All right. So
I want to
to
swear is the NIL. Maybe it was. Maybe they put something out too.
Oh, well, maybe they both did. Yeah, I don't know. But a lot of our fans, and let's get to this. Okay, so last thing about the BOV and the committee and all that stuff. Apparently, Bud Foster was a huge part of the pursuit of James Franklin. And I'm not gonna give away behind the paywall type stuff. But Mahul made a post on 247, and I will only say that he said Bud Foster was tireless and relentless within this search of James Franklin. If you are a member of 247 or you're not yet, B1, go there, read the post. It was interesting and good perspective from one of our biggest donors, who I'm sure is going to be tapped for some funds going forward with it.
I think what will be really good is if you can reinvigorate the normal donor. I think that's really what Virginia Tech needs. You can't keep tapping into the same well before it gets dry. You do need new donors. You need new money to kind of make its way into the program. And that's how Virginia Tech is going to reach this budget that is very much a stretch goal. So
yeah. I mean, that's the thing with the new overall athletics budget, and now the Franklin contract and salary pool and all that other stuff. I mean, the job is not finished right now. Like, the job is not finished in terms of the funds that need to be generated. And I think Witt and the committee and everyone involved, Rakovich, like, they are pumped because this was the quickest avenue to raising a ton of money. Like, I like Bob Chesney as a hire. You know how much I love Dan Mullen. I like, Golish and all these guys. But I had said no one was going to raise the money that a Franklin hire was going to raise.
Yep. I mean, I think the only guy would be maybe Shane.
Yeah.
Shane Beamer.
Shane could do it. Close. Yeah.
I gotta be honest.
Maybe now not. Maybe 6 weeks ago we thought Shane could do it.
The Shane Beamer thing lasted like 1 week.
Mm-hmm.
I think after that, it moved on to Franklin, and then we heard it moved on to Chesney as well. And Bob Chesney is going to be a really good coach for a long, long time, somewhere other than JMU probably. But right now, he's a very good coach for JMU. My biggest question for this right now is, like, how does he impact the recruiting period before New Year's, I guess you could say. I don't know if that's early. It's not really early signing day anymore. It's like that one transfer portal window that happens in January.
Early signing period, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, I've given up on high school recruiting this year. It's who knows what that's going to be.
In terms of you following it, you're saying?
Yeah, like, I'm not super into the high school recruiting
because we haven't had a coach in 6 weeks. So
my question is, like, how quickly can he build out the transfer portal stuff? Because guys commit to programs and they commit to coaches and they commit to NIL. You kind of have to have all three of those things in a row for guys to commit to you. Right now we have one of the coaches. You need all right, who's my position coach going to be? What kind of
Mhm.
scheme are we running? And then you also need, okay, here's how I need to allocate my funds in order to get this guy, this guy, this guy. I need to spend X amount of money on my offensive line, X amount of money on my receiving core. And I'll tell you what, we have not talked about in a few weeks. General manager position.
Mm.
Is James Franklin going to hire that? Who is he going to bring in?
No one is going to. Let me put it this way. Franklin will report to no one when it comes to talent acquisition.
He will report to God and God alone. He is the richest man in the state of Virginia. It is
his program, and there is no stronger way for me to say that than like it is him. We are him. Like Virginia Tech is now James Franklin and vice versa. Like that is the experience that you sign up for. It's exactly like when you hire Buzz Williams. He is now your program. Your program is now him. And that's just for better or for worse. That's how it is. Sam, what I wanted to start with, and then we'll kind of get to some of these things we're seeing in the chat and coaches and retention of certain people and whatever. But a lot of our fans, as we're seeing in the chat, as we've heard from a ton of our friends, view grabbing James Franklin as a major coup that just seems unbelievable to most that we could get a coach that was just in the playoff last year. And I have expressed over the past 5 weeks, however long it's been that we've been having this conversation, that I'm not as big of a Franklin fan as a lot of Hokies fans. And, you know, we have people on the other end of the spectrum like BRM, Robert Irby, who we're going to hear from shortly, Brett Smith. Like those guys are on 100%. This is the best possible thing that could ever happen in the history of anything Virginia Tech. We need it. If we don't get it, it's horrible. I'm on kind of the other end. Not that I don't want him. I've always thought he was a top candidate. I just have always been a little bit more vocal of some of the drawbacks. You fall somewhere in between, but probably closer to the BRMs of the world.
Yeah, probably.
He was always your top candidate.
Yeah, I mean, he had to be. I think he was top candidate almost by default. Like I've never been I am in love with James Franklin. He runs the best offense. He looks like he runs the tightest ship. I don't think I've ever really said that about James Franklin. I will say though that his resume, his experience, and his consistency below every other candidate that Virginia Tech could have looked at out of the water. Not even close. Now, does that come with a pretty hefty price tag? Yes, it does. But you are in many ways with James Franklin paying for what you are getting. Like you are paying for the Louis Vuitton bag, right?
Yeah.
You're paying for the Hermes bracelet. You're getting the best of the best designer, highest quality thing. And that's kind of new for Virginia Tech. I don't think they've ever been that. And so I gotta be honest, like I've never really felt like this as a Virginia Tech fan.
And like getting the good thing, like getting the piece that like having something nice. Like this is kind of like the Neo thing. Like we could have a lottery pick on our hands on the basketball team, and we just hired a coach that's been in the college football playoff. Like that's really good. And this comment from Wayne K with you, Pete. I realize he will bring attention and can turn it around quickest, but have some concerns. Just win, baby. Yes, and that's kind of where I'm at. And we'll maybe talk about some of the concerns later. But like I have always recognized the benefits to bringing someone with James Franklin's gravitas into Virginia Tech. I've always recognized that. So let's talk about those benefits. Number one, Sam. Let's start with the donations and NIL, because that is one of the biggest pieces of this. Our donors are going to commit to James Franklin and that experience like we've never seen in the modern era of Virginia Tech football. There is no more mom and pop shop with this.
You physically can't, like in order to pay this guy, you got to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it is very much a matter of not if you get that donor buy-in, it's how and when. I think when is a really important factor in this, because if you get it year one, before that signing period, the transfer portal and stuff, I think you're feeling pretty good. If you have to see results on the field next fall and then you go and donate a little bit more, I think that changes how quickly James Franklin can turn this program around. I really do. I think it is so important that they get this money up front and they get it early.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think it's coming in now, like as we speak. We got a comment from Godfrey, who always tunes in. My slight concern with Franklin are in-game decisions, specifically time management. How do you see him making adjustments here? Godfrey, we will talk about that in a few minutes. I would say like that is like some of the ball coach stuff is where the concerns with Franklin come in. As for like the off the field stuff, where me and Sam are kind of starting right now, like the fundraising effort's going to be massive. And it needs to be, but it is going to be massive. I am personally guaranteeing that we are going to raise more money over the next 6 to 9 months than we've probably raised in 4 or 5 years. Like that's like where this is headed right now.
Yeah. I mean, I'd say that's pretty safe. Yeah.
Yeah. Tickets, season ticket sales.
Pew! Spring game's going to be lit.
Sold out.
Pete, I told you. Spring game.
You were talking about Shane. You said that about Shane.
It's true. It's for Shane. That was for Shane.
But same goes for Franklin. The spring game, I might be able to convince some of you guys to come with me this year because I was missing you last year at the spring game. Let's bring on Paul Patera. He's going to be our first Sons of Saturday. How would we say this? Friend? Co-worker?
Contributor.
Here we go, Paul. Thanks for joining us, man. It's a pleasure to have you on here. You're fresh off the Florida State experience, too.
Fresh off the 23-hour drive round trip. It was great.
Paul drove from Texas all the way to Tallahassee and back over this past weekend, and we do salute you for that. That is awesome. I heard you had a great time. It looked like you had a great time from everything we saw online. And then you come back and you get this news. We have a new head coach. Give us your raw, unadulterated reaction.
If you zoom out a little bit, for me, this is bigger than wins and losses, bowl games, that sort of thing. Obviously, you want that from a coach. The college football landscape, in my opinion, is seismically changing, and it's going to continue to do so. And the breakaway is coming. We're playing for a seat at the table. And we need a coach that can not just restore us to national relevance, but do so quickly. Plenty of coaches, I think, could succeed here, especially over time, but I think far fewer had the credentials, the gravitas, the ability to attract high-impact athletes, of which we were a little shorthanded on and have been for a dozen years. We've been a mid-program for quite a while, and we need a coach to quickly bring us back. And I think the ingredients are now there. So congrats to the decision makers for realizing that it costs money to win and it costs money to lose. And I think this really just puts us on a different trajectory in a way that I'm not sure another coach could.
Yeah, Sam and I were just discussing the benefits for the NIL space and the donations that can come in from this. And of course, like season ticket sales, like we're going to sell out all of our season tickets this year. I would almost have to imagine. If we don't, we're going to get darn close, and every game is probably going to be a sellout. So that's a huge plus. You get the concessions and all that. Like there's just more money. And the other thing is the staff that he could potentially bring with him and his connections in the sport. I know you follow college football across the nation pretty closely. Like we all do that are tuned into the Sons of Saturday. Do you feel like he's going to load this up with like a lot of high power recruiters? Do you think like he'll be able to keep bringing in, like he's brought in so many good defensive coordinators at Penn State. Do you expect like a top tier play caller to come in on that side of the ball?
Well, I do. And I think that's a huge differentiator relative to what we've done in the past. If you think about it, we got really, I was talking about this weekend, actually leaving Doak Campbell Stadium Saturday night. We've been really fortunate and lucky for years and years and years to have had Bud Foster on the sideline. It took one drive of him seeing what the other team would do. And then he made the adjustment. We haven't seen that. And part of the reason we haven't seen that is since Bud Foster, we have had 3 consecutive first-time defensive coordinators. So yes, on the recruiting side, getting coaches that can bring in better talent is huge. But I think we're also going to see an uptick in experience level and folks that can on the sideline or in the booth be able to make decisions far more quickly and more successfully because they've done it before.
Yeah, and that's a huge piece of this. And we won't be. You wouldn't expect us to go back to that well of like, oh, let's just try this new up and comer. Let's see if he can work out. No, we're not going with maybes. Like that's kind of what this hire is, Sam. Robert Irby has said this a lot. I want to ask him about it when he comes on, but like, this is the high percentage chance guy. Like you could have hired a Bob Chesney. You could have hired a Golish who one day could be better than Franklin. But in terms of probabilities, that's what this comes down to.
The floor is so much higher. And it does feel like in many ways, Virginia Tech swung for the fences here, but they swung for the fences with like one of those big old fashioned wiffle ball bats and was like, okay, if we miss on this, we're at least getting a double off the wall, you know? Like if you're swinging for national title, national relevance year after year after year, 9 to 10 wins minimum, you're swinging for something that is so far beyond what you have had for the last decade. And for me, like Bob Chesney would have been great. I think he's a really good coach. I love the way his team plays. I also think the odds of Bob Chesney going 6-6 next year were probably really high. I think the odds of James Franklin going 7-5 next year are pretty low. Like it's just a different ball game here. And to have Virginia Tech playing after the somewhat disappointment of the Brent Pry hire and after the complete disappointment of Brent Pry's coordinator hires, to have Virginia Tech swinging for the fences like that is
refreshing.
It's hard to put it. It's genuinely hard to put into words, which is an issue because I'm probably going to have 3 hours of spoken content this week. But it's crazy, Paul. Like have you ever felt like Virginia Tech's made a move like this in any sport, really?
Well, I think the closest comparison in any sport would be Buzz. Because we were in the doldrums for quite some time. I mean, Seth brought us back from the basement of the Big East, but then we had that big dip after that. Buzz was a hire that was a splash hire, somebody that we knew probably wasn't going to be here for 5 years, but he put us on a different level, and he did so pretty darn quickly. I think that's probably the closest comp in the Virginia Tech athletic department to what we're doing here. But I think that it's even more so and more pronounced here, and maybe because of the enormity of the weight that football plays in athletics.
I think with this one too, Paul, in the comparison to Buzz, we've been hearing about this for a month. The Buzz thing like came out of nowhere. It just hit us and we got to like react to it and be like, oh my God, this new athletic director brought Buzz with him. This is incredible. We've been building to this kind of thinking we're going to get the rug pulled on us for a while. And then it comes down and it actually happens. And I think when we got Fuente and were able to keep Bud here, that felt like, oh wow, we kind of got the best of both worlds. We got an offensive mind and our beloved defensive mind, and we get to put them together. But it's different because a lot of Tech fans always felt like we're not going to go this big. We're not going to pay the big money. We're not going to get the big candidate. And all of those fans who I don't even blame them for thinking that, because this is what we've become. We have been the mom and pop shop. We have cheaped out. We did go get a defensive coordinator that no one thought was going to be a head coach and made him our head coach last time around. That's not what happened this time. Let's bring in Brett Smith, one of our other contributors. I want to hear from Brett because he was excited about this. Brett, how you feeling tonight, man?
Can't believe it, really. I was in the background here, and I kind of was hearing what Sam said, and it really is hard to believe. I put tears in my eyes in the little sub bio thing, but it's crazy. I mean, when you really think about it, this is not a typical, Virginia Tech hire. Even, the Buzz Williams, Paul, you made a good point. I think that's probably the closest one. Even Mike Young after Buzz Williams, not really like this huge slam dunk hire, had a lot of success at Wofford, done really well, here at Virginia Tech. And I think he'll continue to do well as a really great coach. But in terms of caliber of coach, I don't think we've ever hired anybody like this in terms of caliber of coach. Yeah, Frank Beamer ended with this kind of caliber, but he didn't come in with this kind of caliber. Mm-hmm. Justin Fuente, did well at Memphis, but in terms of caliber of coach, I don't think Virginia Tech has really ever in any sport done this.
Who has accomplished what he's accomplished in the sport to this point.
Yeah.
A lot of bowl wins, a lot of wins in general, conference championship, playoff appearance. Like Buzz had some, NCAA tournament appearances and whatnot, but like by comparison, Franklin's done a lot more. And it's just, it does have like a big, that the feel of it and the perception of it nationally is almost as important of like what he will actually do on the field. Like we are instantly like launched into relativity again.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's also, comparing to Buzz was at Marquette, great program. This is Penn State we're talking about. This is not, a small program. This is a national level program, and he has national level recognition. People knew who Buzz Williams was, knew he was a good coach, but this is just a different level in my opinion. And it's pretty crazy.
I want to talk about the biggest piece of Franklin coming to Virginia Tech and the biggest benefit. And that is, in my opinion, the recruiting. It's not the donations in the NIL, although it all goes hand in hand, but his ability to recruit, be a lead recruiter, basically be the GM, which me and Sam had already talked about, because we will probably hire a GM, but with James Franklin, the responsibility of that GM may only be managing books. That's kind of what it feels like. So I'll go to Paul first on this. How do you feel like this will play out for us? Do you see that Franklin, do you see his ability to maybe get us back into that top 30, into that top 25 recruiting class level?
The reason why the comp to Buzz is maybe a little bit more accurate is the timing of this hire and where we are with NIL and where we are with the transfer portal and the lack of rules really in any regard when it comes to player acquisition in college football. He can very, very quickly get a ton of a lot better players on the field in a way that previous coaches would not have been able to do that. Like if he'd been hired and when Fuente was hired, it would have taken him longer to build the program. Now, when we really need to get this thing built quickly and become relevant quickly, I think he has the ability to do that. Depending on what service he is, I don't think we've had a 5-star recruit in a dozen years. I think it was Kendall Fuller in 2013. I might be wrong on that,
I
but
think you're right.
we're not going to be relevant if we don't have really good athletes. And I just came from Doak Campbell Stadium. The team in many regards tried really hard, but our margin for error is so low because we just don't have the horses all over the field. And he can do that, and he will do that. I firmly believe he will.
And what's nice, Brett, is that it's the same recruiting grounds, more or less, that he's been dealing with. And in fact, if you go 6-hour radius around Blacksburg as opposed to State College, you could argue that it's a more fertile recruiting footprint.
Yeah, I mean, it's no question.
Yeah, I would say one thing about it too is, the areas that Penn State has recruited so well in, you look at, Eastern PA, New Jersey, the DMV area, Northern Virginia, Maryland, DC. Those are kind of the areas Virginia Tech needs to hit. And those are the areas where they're going to get not only the talent, but the volume of talent. And I don't think it's going to come from Hampton Roads, VB. It's not going to come from down here anymore. I don't think it's going to come from Richmond anymore, to be honest with you. Like, those are the areas Virginia Tech needs to hit. And you've seen it in, I'm wearing the Blacksburg Bombers baseball one. Like, that's where baseball has kind of built the program, is by not trying to fight the SEC teams down south, not trying to fight the really good programs in North Carolina. Go up to Jersey, go up to Pennsylvania, like go up where your competition within that 6-hour radius is much, much less. The top guys are always going to find their way to Ohio State, Bama, Texas, Georgia, etc. That next crop of guys that Virginia Tech, unfortunately, has not sniffed, you got to get those guys. And right now, where they're residing isn't in Lynchburg, Virginia. It's not in Greenville or Charlotte anymore, to be honest with you. It's up in that recruiting footprint. And I think the brand that Virginia Tech has, especially in the DMV area, and with how much alumni and how much money is coming from New Jersey down to Blacksburg, it's it's almost a perfect fit, irregardless of what we have seen from him as a coach, irregardless of 24-15 at Vanderbilt over 3 years. 3 consecutive top 15 finishes at Penn State over the last 3 years. It is mind blowing. It's mind blowing that he fell into Virginia Tech's lap.
Yeah,
because
that's how I explain it.
I praising the coaching committee. They did a great job. I'm sure they did their homework. But we made the joke a couple shows ago, Pete. This was like hiring a bunch of 24-year-old consultants from McKinsey to come in and say, "Hey, why don't you just hire the best coach on the market?
Right.
How about you go ahead? And
you didn't need a committee to say maybe we should hire James Franklin. Like it's kind of funny how that is. But I also love, and what you said about the DMV, Virginia recruiting in general, to watch Chris Long's reaction today on the Greenlight podcast.
He knew immediately.
Like, yeah, I mean, and Brett, you look at what he did in Virginia prior to us hiring Coach Pry. Like, they were eating our lunch down here. And when we got Pry, it kind of like leveled the playing field a little bit. And like, we were able to get some of the top Virginia guys again, not all of them, but some of them, more than we were getting. And like this fit and the fact that Shane is in shambles down in South Carolina, like, we can own this state with him.
Oh, absolutely. And here's the thing that's different about James Franklin. He can go on TV on Sunday right now and take his pick of the litter and be like, do you want to be this guy? I mean, we can just name a few. Obviously, Micah Parsons is the big one. Thought probably would work that a little better, but
I've heard that song and dance before.
Yeah, okay. Abdul Carter, Chris Godwin, Mike Gesicki, Pat Freiermuth. I mean, I'm just looking at a list.
How
right
about
now.
the tight end?
Dotson,
Warren.
Yeah, Tyler Warren.
For
Virginia. I'm just talking Saquon Barkley. I'm just talking from a national level. He can go into any school in Virginia, New Jersey, and he can just point to the TV on Sunday now.
I like that Saquon Barkley guy.
He's a great guy. He's a great player. Yeah, he can just point to the TV and be like, you see these guys? This is what I can do for you. And we had a lot of guys. I mean, the closest I can think of in Virginia Tech history is when Torian Gray was putting guys in the league every year. That's like the closest thing I can feel like we've ever had where it's like this guy on Sundays playing his nuts off. So to be able to have a coach to come in that can immediately bring that kind of caliber of recruiting and that caliber of history, it's pretty, we've never had it. That's just the fact.
We have the coach that can do the sales, but hand in hand goes the cash. And these days you need a budget to acquire that talent. And it looks like we've got that too. So
true. And that's what I was saying is like, you need the NIL, you need the dogged recruiter, you need the staff that's also going to recruit under you. And with Franklin, you're going to get all that. So that without a doubt, when I talk about Franklin and have like pointed out like things that he's not, it's usually like on the field related stuff. The off the field stuff, he's going to kill it. He's going to kill all of this stuff. And the recruiting, I feel like we're going to be this offseason, Brett, you're going to be just in seventh heaven watching some of the guys that we're able to pull.
It's bad. I got a good story about Franklin real quick. So I went to Louisa County, played Lafayette High School in the state semis. I'm from Williamsburg. And so a few of friends of mine's siblings were playing at Lafayette in the state semi. And one of my best friends, my freshman year in college, is from Louisa. So they were playing at Louisa, and we decided to go. Brandon Smith was there. I'm sure a lot of you guys remember. Mm-hmm. Thought he could have been a shoe-in for Bud Foster. Thought from the get-go. Bud Foster and Justin Fuente were there, and guess who was right there with them? Sitting with them, just kind of, conversating. James Franklin. Guess where he committed that next Saturday?
Yeah.
Penn State. So, it's those kinds of things, that just
he's
that
a celebrity.
Me. Yeah,
like he has.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, like he is a celebrity coach. Maybe he's not Dion, but in terms of celebrity status, but he's there and he's a much better coach and more proven than Dion. And so it's going up again in recruiting battles with him is like that guy's on our team now. Like that is extremely exciting. I also thought an interesting piece of this, you guys. Well, let me say one more thing about the recruiting. He's had a top 10 to top 20 most talented team in the talent composite for about a decade now. And the last 5 years, it's been floating around number 10 most talented. That's amazing. Now, I don't know without the Penn State Army how much or how long it will take to get there. But you also have to keep in mind that Franklin built his rep at Penn State, and now that rep is fully built. And so in some ways, the build could be faster than it was at Penn State, while also maybe not as fast because it's not quite the infrastructure. But that's what I love about what Franklin's going to bring down to Virginia Tech is it's not just, oh, this guy, I want to hire this guy, he can do recruit. We are in such need of an infrastructure overhaul, and that's what Buzz gave us, and that's what Franklin can give us in football.
It's a difference in expectation as well. I think that's what Buzz gave more than anything, maybe, is the expectation for not only what the team plays like, but also what the results look like.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Buzz expected to get to the NCAA tournament every year, whereas with Seth Greenberg, I think one of the downfalls of that era was making the NCAA tournament was the goal. I think Virginia Tech hasn't had a goal of conference championships probably since Beamer. And to go into a season with that being the goal, I think completely changes the entire tenor of your football program. I know we've got a ton of comments. I've seen.
Yeah, there's a lot of comments. I'm trying to get as much as I can. I also see Robert Irby in the chat. Paul, in a second, is it okay if we say goodbye? Do you have any final words on the hire before we let you go?
Just couldn't be happier. Ready to go.
So glad.
But let's beat UVA.
Let's beat UVA.
That's UVA. Let's do it.
We got to take care of that one. On the field, we still want that goal. All right, Paul, thanks for signing on, man. We'll talk to you soon.
See you, man.
I'm going to add Robert Irby in here, one of our contributors that has been on the show many times. Robert, welcome. Oh, you're turning. You're changing.
Yeah, there you go.
Didn't want the little box. He's landscape now.
Yeah.
How are you feeling? This is something you've been waiting for, something you've been highly anticipating for a while now. It's finally here, dude. Like, let it out. How you doing?
Yeah. I mean, the first thing I heard when I logged on was Seth Greenberg. So are we doing okay here, fellas? Is everything all right?
We're doing great. We're
okay.
Just comparing eras, comping, all that kind of stuff. You know how it goes.
Yeah, that threw me for a loop. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, it goes without saying, I'm over the moon. I just think that I mean, I'm sure you guys have already said it, but like, this is big boy move, you know, like this is a move that big boys make. And like I mentioned it in the chat, like, you know, I don't know if James Franklin would have ever, you know, finally taken Penn State over that edge that they wanted to. But like, you look at their two biggest rivals were Ohio State and Michigan, and they were in the exact same situation where like for years it was Jim Harbaugh can't win the big one. And then it was Ryan Day can't win the big one. And ultimately they stuck it out. And ultimately, both of them won national championships. Granted, Michigan had to cheat to do it, but that's neither here nor there. And I remember the prevailing thought was always like, who can you get that's better? And Penn State didn't ask themselves that question. And they're going to end up with a worse coach than the one they fired, and we got the one they fired. And I'm just so happy about it. You know, like we just get to reap the benefit of someone else's irrationality, and it's awesome.
And it's someone else that we were just talking about, like in the footprint, right? Like Penn State, well, maybe not a rival on the field because they've been a lot better than us and we never play them, but like they're a recruiting rival, a regional rival. And we just took their advantage in that rivalry.
Yeah, I think if you were to tailor make, I guess that's the term, a head coach for Virginia Tech football right now, like it would be James Franklin. Like that is every single, like he checks every single box that you would want him to, in terms of the experience and the program building, the recruiting, all like the ability to win a lot of games. You know, the only thing he's missing, I guess, is a degree from Virginia Tech, but like in every other aspect, he's exactly what we would have asked for.
It's okay that he wasn't a GA like Pry. It's okay.
I thought that was going to do it.
I wanted to bring this up because we were kind of chatting about it with Paul right before Robert came on. Pete said the problem was in the walls of Merriman a few weeks ago, and we've said that for a couple of years now. Of available coaches, I think Franklin is the best possible hire to address that issue and force the changes that are needed. That's from Keith Tastic, I believe. And do you agree with that, Robert? I mean, that to me is one of the biggest things and biggest benefits of this is changing the walls of Merriman, the infrastructure of Merriman.
Yeah, and I do think it granted, this change is pretty drastic. I do think it's been somewhat gradual to get there because, like, even you had like when the Fuente Baylor stuff happened, and then ultimately when Fuente got fired, like it was like, oh, we're going to invest more in the program. We need more resources, this, that, and a third. But it was still such a like small scale thing.
Mm-hmm.
It was making up for ground there, but now it's just like, all right, you know what? What if we just
We're losing Rob just a little bit.
We lost him.
He was making such a good point.
You
too.
were crushing that, man. I will say too, something that's a little interesting is, I mentioned his record at Vanderbilt. A winning record at Vanderbilt at that time was incredible. Did y'all know he was a receivers coach at James Madison?
My wife told me that today.
Did not know that
because she's
1997. Yeah, 1997. I just thought that was interesting. I mean, his head coaching record is 128-60.
That's pretty good.
And he's 8-7 in bowl games.
Yeah. I mean, we knew, and you said this, Sam, from the beginning. Best resume. Like if it's a resume contest, like he's winning. It's not a question. And I was always of the thing, like hiring a coach is not always just the resume. And I think you guys all agreed with that. It's schematics, it's mentality, it's how you get your team motivated. But as we've been going through the benefits here, it's very clear and has been clear to me that like he is going to give you the best odds of having an extremely competent product immediately. And that's something that you cannot guarantee with a Golish or a Chesney. I think you might be able to guarantee it to a reasonable degree with Mullen, but like we were never even really talking to Mullen as far as I could tell. Maybe there was a flight to Vegas. I don't know.
I don't know. Like it felt like the Mullen thing never materialized. And I would also say it felt like
wait, is this for real in the chat here? Bryant B-ball game sellout? Is that right? Because
dude, it might be.
We're introducing Franklin at 10 a.m. press conference on Wednesday. Basketball game is Wednesday night. And he'll you assume a lot of times when this type of stuff happens, like that's when Brian Kelly did my family, like that was not a basketball
Abdallas
game.
And Dorn are going to be so confused.
Yeah. Do you guys remember? So the thing with Franklin going on Wednesday, it kind of reminds me of when Buzz before was the 2015 or 2016 season. I think it was 2015. I think it was me, Robert, and Sam's freshman year. You remember he invited all the students to come in and he gave like a kind of like a pep talk rally. Like, hey, we really need you guys to be invested. I know last year wasn't exactly what we wanted, but I promise you, I'm going to deliver you guys a product. That's basically what he said. And everybody was like, holy crap, we've never experienced something like this. And he did. I mean, he delivered. They made the tournament that year. Oh, not 2016.
2 years
but
in,
two,
right?
2 years later, they made a tournament every year. So, and I think they could have made it in 2016, but that was a good ACC that year. But anyway, back to what I was saying.
The first game.
Alabama State was
that
was tough. But my point, like Wednesday, I think could have that same type of juice and that same type of motivation, especially being open to the public. I think it's going to be a similar vibe.
What do you guys think about this comment? James Franklin had his choice. He said on game day he will win a championship elsewhere. He picked us. VT said they were serious, and damn if they weren't telling the truth. I am curious about the thoughts on his actual viability as a candidate at Florida or LSU, because I don't think any of us have heard a single report of those two bigger programs, and because we all know that they are bigger programs than Virginia Tech, going after him. Now, it seemed Arkansas had significant interest and maybe even made an offer. But what do you guys think about that from like a standpoint of who are we actually going up against? Why didn't maybe some of these bigger programs want him?
Yeah, I mean, I think, Pete, you've beat the drum before about him not getting over the hump, but I think that's the exact reason Florida and LSU probably didn't look at him. And the narrative was there. And I mean, it was the truth. If you couldn't beat, which is just a fact, you couldn't beat Ohio State or Michigan, often enough, I'll say. How are you going to beat Alabama, Georgia, that the same caliber of team essentially? So which I think was stupid by Florida and LSU, but my thought process was that's probably what they were thinking. They just fired two guys, especially Brian Kelly, for the same reason. So they're not going to go. So I think them firing their coaches actually helped us out even more than people probably realize, because they were like, the narrative of James Franklin can't beat Ohio State or Michigan. How is he going to beat Alabama or Georgia? And the LSU AD, we already know, was a dummy to begin with. So
We
I
see
think that's how
Hokie-
we got there.
Hokie John in the comments. Are you not entertained? Pete, are you feeling better now? It's been a long season. Some good news had to come. I mean, listen, I have said for a while he had to be a candidate. If he's going to be going for jobs this year, he has to be on your list. You have to look at him. And obviously, I've been getting berated by Robert and Brett and so many other people in the chat.
I didn't think I was going to be allowed on this show at one point.
Two months. And listen,
For
everyone's
having
made
him
a lot
like
of-
top 3 in your candidate list.
everyone's made good points. And when you go through the donations and the tickets and the staff and the recruiting, it's hard not to feel immensely excited. And I am that. I am very excited. I have merely expressed the concerns about some of the actual ball coaching things that worry me about James Franklin. That's not really what we're going to do tonight. And I just hope that this season's failures, most think that was the aberration, right? They were top 5 team. They failed miserably. They got beat by an 0-4 UCLA team that probably wasn't that bad. And Northwestern's not a bad team, but they lost those games and they were heavy favorites. And you hope that that is the aberration and just a very weird set of circumstances, and that he's actually the coach that had the 10 years of evidence prior, right, Robert?
Yeah, no, for sure. And I mean, ultimately, 10 months ago, he was in the national semifinal. You know what I mean? And it's like, if you told me while I was watching that game that that Notre Dame Penn State game, that one of those two coaches would be Virginia Tech's head coach, I
would
wouldn't have
be
believed
doing
you.
backflips too. You're right.
Yeah, right. And and so I'm probably gonna have to leave y'all on that note. But
that's okay, because me and Sam
Yeah.
got to do the rest of College Football Monday here in a second. But I do appreciate you both joining us. If you have any final thoughts, please give them now, and then we can hang up.
Herbert, you go, because I've been on here for longer.
I to quote Michael Scott, you have no idea how high I can fly.
That is a great way to end
See
it,
you, fellas.
Costanza. Talk to you soon. Bye. All right,
you
Brett.
guys.
Thank you for being here.
See you,
man.
Brett.
We
Yeah,
appreciate
man.
your thoughts.
Yeah.
Later. All right, Sam. Let me get the Jack and Coke ad back on the screen, because after an hour, even though it wasn't our normal hour, we should do a Jack and Coke read, because two legends, one can, Jack and Coke. They are a proud sponsor of College Football Monday. The #1 cocktail in the world is now available in a can, and it's been available in that can for at least a season or two. It's true. Jack Daniel's Tennessee Whiskey, Coca-Cola, or Coca-Cola Zero Sugar are now available in a can. They also have Jack and Cherry and Jack and Vanilla, and they have the mix pack where you can get original, vanilla, and cherry all in one box. That is what you want at your tailgates. Those things taste good. They give you a nice buzz. They're the perfect mixture. You're not going to get a heavy hand. You're not going to get a light hand. It's going to be perfect, and it's going to be right in your cooler, ready to go. So remember, hit up your local grocery and convenience stores. They should be stocked up. If they're not, they'll have it the next day. That's how good the distribution is on these things. They're always reloading. Two legends, one can, Jack and Coke. And when you're having those Jack and Cokes, please drink responsibly. We may get to some James Franklin stuff a little bit more later in the show, but we have an interview with Coach Eugene Chung coming up. We have our top 5 game segment, Sam, which I would like to get to right now if you're ready for that.
Let's do it, man.
Okay.
Let's go for it.
Thank you guys for all hopping in the chat. We had so many good comments here. I'll put up a few more before we start talking about Oklahoma. It's a Virginia gentleman double shot kind of night. Hell yeah, Hokie John. Austie, y'all have a good night and have a better day, as the sun will shine on Virginia Tech once again. I'm slightly delusional. I like that, Austie. I like that one. Jimmy McKenna, another thing. Sons of Saturday, my guy's friends were saying he and Whit Babcock were at the river course, Virginia Tech 2 weeks ago, if that doesn't tell you something.
I mean, people we really, really trust and people who cover this team for like their 9 to 5 job.
Oh, he's saying Franklin and Witt were at the river course together.
Not our 5 to like we do this 5 to 9, right? Our professional livelihoods are not on the line, but people whose livelihoods are on the line for this stuff, like they felt really confident weeks ago.
Yeah, they did.
like
I mean,
it's-
Chris Coleman put it out there at one point saying like he felt confident about it.
Yeah.
And that's a guy that's very close to the program. Like me, we don't live in Blacksburg. We don't work for the team. We don't get a paycheck from Virginia Tech or any news outlet other than, some rowback.
Do you remember that rumor that like we were like state-run media by Virginia Tech Athletics?
Yeah, we do wish. But Billy had the connections to the team and Fuente, and I think that's where all that came from. There was some posts about the Sons of Saturday in general on 247 this week. Not so complimentary, but that's okay. We're okay with that.
That's fine. That's fine. We've racked up almost 2,800 views since we logged on an hour ago.
Yeah, it's been and we've had a great season, and we appreciate everyone who helped in the chat and listens to us, because this has been a hard season in terms of following the team. It's been a little bit fun with the content. Don't get me wrong. Me and Sam love breaking down all these different possibilities, but it's also been exhausting. And we love the fact that you guys hop in the chat and are doing this on a night like tonight. We got Jay Programmer here saying Franklin did less with more is a moronic take. Franklin isn't losing to Louisville and North Carolina State. He's basically losing to one team, Ohio State, and clearly the Buckeyes don't have less. I think and that's not exactly, I don't think I phrased it like that tonight. I think what I've said is that Franklin doesn't always get the most out of his roster. He's not always motivating his teams to the highest degree in the biggest moments. Those are some of the drawbacks that I've had with him. But we do need to move on to our top 5 game segment. We'll come back to some VT stuff after we talk to Coach Chung. Let's go to Oklahoma going into Bryant-Denny, Sam, and coming out victorious 23-21. I expected Bama to win and cover. I know you've been a Bama supporter most of the year. OU got the pick 6 early, and it seemed clear that this is going to be a 4-quarter fight. It was 10-0 Oklahoma. Bama got let off the hook on another interception in the red zone a little bit later thanks to a penalty, and they scored on that drive. Bama then fumbled. Oklahoma capitalized. It's 17-7. The Tide would score on the wide open pass to Cuevas, who had a great game, and had a chance to tie it a couple drives later, but they missed a field goal, and the kicker was mad at his snapper on that one.
The vibes were off for Alabama this whole game. It just felt like they couldn't hold on to the football.
Yeah, Mateer had an awesome throw on a 3rd and 13 at one point in the game, and that actually led to a field goal, and it made it 20-14 OU. And then Simpson put out a couple of dimes. Neither quarterback had their best game, but they did have flashes of really good plays. Another Hill touchdown on the ground, so it's 21-20 Bama in front, and there's still 7.5 minutes left in the third. A lot of game to go, but very little scoring to go, because that would be Bama's last score, and it became a chess match between DeBoer and Venables. That's something Irby was talking about as he was watching the game. Bama tried to put a drive together at the end, but Bowen made a great play on the ball. The Bowens had an awesome day, and it was over. And I might have missed the field goal in there, but OU would kick a field goal that became the game-winning field goal with 13 minutes left. There was so little scoring through the end of this game as those two coaches kind of went at each other. What was your instant reaction to this? Like 23-21 Sooners. Did you feel like Bama should have won the game?
Bama should have won this game by multiple scores. 3 turnovers and a missed field goal. You can't win with that. You can't have it. And they were bad turnovers too. And also on top of that, something that's not going to show up in the stat sheet is they had a dropped pick 6, easy pick 6, and just dropped. And
the Mateer one. Yeah.
And it was just like, man, they're doing everything they can to lose this game. And Oklahoma, you have to give them a lot of credit for understanding kind of the situation they had been dealt in the first half and saying, let's just sit on this. Right. Let's not go out and lose. Let's not have a bunch of 3 and outs. Let's take our time at the line of scrimmage, play a little prevent, understand that Ty Simpson isn't having a good game. Really good job. Alabama's inability to run the ball effectively is becoming an issue, and I'm not sure this is a team that can win a national championship right now, because it's not just this game against Alabama. Georgia stopped them from running the ball a lot. Missouri stopped them from running the ball a lot. Those are both very close wins for Alabama. I'm a little bit worried if I'm a Crimson Tide fan right now, because I don't think against the upper echelon of college football, I'm not sure this team is complete enough to win.
And I'll tell you why I think you're right on that, is because Oklahoma did this with 212 yards of offense.
Yeah, Alabama's defense was phenomenal. I mean, 21% havoc rate is sensational. Oklahoma only had a 33% success rate. That's 10th percentile the last 2 years. Only 4.6 yards per play for the Sooners. Alabama played a really good game. They just turned the ball over too much. And they
Special teams were huge.
Bad.
Like OU had the return by Satania, which was really big at one point.
Really early game.
They blocked the field goal at one point, right? Didn't they get their hand on that field goal?
Yep.
And so there was just all the little things added up. And this is a huge win for Brent Venables. I mean, I didn't think he could go in there and do that. I didn't think he was a good enough coach for that. I didn't think Mateer is playing well enough to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And lo and behold, they made just enough plays, and Simpson had his second worst game of the season. Now, he didn't play dreadfully, but his worst game was Florida State, and this was definitely his second worst game of the season.
Alabama had over double the amount of yards per drive than Oklahoma. Lost.
That's crazy. And you know what? Oklahoma's playoff bound now, man. I mean, they have 2 games left against Mizzou and LSU. So not walkovers. I'm not saying those are going to be easy, but they're both in Norman. And they have put together a body of work where they might even be able to withstand a loss and get in. Like they might, but they're probably not gonna.
Man, it's pretty sensational what they've been able to do. And I'll tell you too, that win they have against Michigan.
Oh yeah.
Earlier in the season, it hasn't aged like a fine wine, but it's aged pretty well.
They're 8-2.
Yeah, I mean, Michigan doesn't look phenomenal, but that's a notch in the belt. And if you look at their non-conference win against Michigan, you look at what they've done in the SEC, and you compare it to Oregon, who looks really good, but compare it to Oregon, compare it to Notre Dame, compare it to some of these other teams that are going to be sitting in that 7 to 11 seed. Ole Miss, even Oklahoma, just has the better win. It's just like, I don't know how they've stumbled their way to this point, because it's the most un-Oklahoma team of any Oklahoma team ever. Like, I don't think this team can score 30 against a good team, but they can muck it up.
What about the precariousness of Bama's playoff hopes at this point? I mean, if they're 10-2, they're in. I believe that. But like, that Florida State loss is not sitting it by itself anymore as some anomaly. It is like, that's a bad loss.
Yeah.
You add a home loss. This is a home loss to Oklahoma. Like,
well,
that's not great.
You still have Georgia, Vanderbilt, Mizzou on the road, Tennessee.
Yeah, they played a gauntlet.
Again, notches in the belt. And I also think there were times in those games where they looked not dominant, but they looked clearly better. Like, they were clearly better than Tennessee. They were clearly better than Vanderbilt. I think they separated themselves from the middle of the pack of the SEC. And I think right now, we'll get to our playoff picks later, but if you're looking at 5 SEC teams, they've put themselves in that top 5 pretty firmly. Now, they have the cupcake game, Eastern Illinois, and then they play Auburn on the Plains at night.
And we know Auburn's feisty.
Auburn with nothing to lose. Auburn with a stingy defense.
If Bama loses that game, are you comfortable saying Bama's out of the playoff?
I'm 100% comfortable. This team is not getting it with,
because that Florida State game,
those are 2
like,
bad losses.
That's the bad loss, and the home loss, and then a loss to a bad Auburn team. They'd be done. They'd be completely cooked, regardless of what happens elsewhere. All right, let's talk about Texas A&M making a comeback for the ages against South Carolina. They won 31-30. It was 30-3 at the half. Shane is doing his like weird gangly arm pump up, as Chip Patterson was calling it at the end of the half. Going into the tunnel, he's pumping up the crowd, or riling them up, I should say. In the first half, every bounce went South Carolina's way. Everything. A missed field goal, fumble return touchdown, interception in the end zone, another interception. Like, it was endless. Big plays by Sellers. And at one point, I was like, the football, when they doinked that field goal off the upright, I was like, that's football god stuff, man. Like, this is a loss for them. And it would be their first loss, so they'll probably be fine for the playoff. Then the second half started. And A&M scored touchdowns on 4 straight possessions to take a 1-point lead. Yeah, guess what? South Carolina didn't score in the second half.
South Carolina had a what was it? They had a 50-yard touchdown pass in the first quarter. Then they had that 17-yard fumble return touchdown. They had a 41-yard field goal. They had a 36-yard field goal. They had the 80-yard touchdown pass from Sellers, and then they had a 35-yard field goal. That 35-yard field goal was off of a drive where they had 3 plays for 6 yards towards the end of half, but didn't really move the ball at all. They had a success rate in this game of 25%.
Ooh.
Which is first percentile. It's the lowest of the like you can count on one hand the amount of offenses that had a lower success rate than South Carolina did in this game. They still scored 30 points somehow. It was just those big plays, like those big explosive plays made this game look a lot different than it actually was.
Well, and I would also say
once those dried up, they can't move the ball.
But Marcel Reed's dichotomy between first and second half,
absurd.
Like,
what were they doing?
See something like that.
Unbelievable.
He had 439 yards passing in this game, 3 touchdowns. He also had 2 back-breaking interceptions. I mean, Concepcion went for 158. ABR, their other wide receiver, he went for 139. I mean, they
didn't run, like they didn't have to.
They didn't have to
run the ball
to get back in the game.
And then they were just like, oh, we can just throw the ball and everyone's wide open.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's almost like they thought this was, and when things started to go wrong, they kind of like, whoa. And then they got to halftime. They're like, wait. We've seen this team on film. We know what we can do. We know what they do. What if we just play backyard football here? And they did. And it's like South Carolina put together one of the worst halves of football you could possibly imagine. And Texas A&M should have won this game 38-30. I mean, they had a ridiculous fumble on 3rd and goal from the 1 on like a weird busted trick play that ended up being a fumble recovery for South Carolina. This game should have been worse. It should have been a 35-0 second half for the Aggies.
And you know what's funny is that A&M, are you talking about the A&M fumble?
Yeah.
Yeah, like they gave them a chance.
They gave them a chance and nothing.
A&M moves to 10-0 for the first time since 1992, which actually was more recent than I thought it was going to be. Like, they were 10-0 in 92 and they're 10-0 in 2025. Good for Elko, who just got the extension. Deserved. That's one of the best coaches in college football. Like, if you can change the A&M 8-4 culture, like, that's amazing. Like, I mean, that
they are 10-0. Obviously,
they can win the SEC. They're probably the best team in the SEC.
They have Samford.
Georgia's getting better, though. Georgia's getting better. We're going to talk about
this
Georgia
weird, because conferences are too big and we can't figure out how to rank these teams. I believe they still need to beat Texas. Like, they need to go undefeated in the SEC to make the SEC title game.
Well, yeah, it kind of depends on. It depends on
the. It depends on other stuff.
Yeah.
But Georgia's done. Georgia's in it at 7-1.
Yeah.
So it depends on the Egg Bowl and the Iron Bowl. But
for Shane, the nightmare season continues. I mean, were you expecting to get a Shane's fired on Sunday?
I think you're too in it now. You're too deep in it.
Yeah,
I think you can. We say this in the NFL sometimes, but I think it's so bad. You can just chalk it up to a shoot. Like, that didn't work. Let's try again.
Yeah.
I think it's that bad. If they went like 6-6, I somehow think would be more likely for him to be fired. I think it's gone I think it's gone so bad that you're just like, forget it. We'll move on.
We screwed up the OC, we screwed up the O-line coach. Like, we're just throw it out. We'll start over again. Yeah.
Bad hires. Lenore Sellers didn't progress like we thought he would. Defense, like we thought we were going to. I mean, we talked about it in the freaking August, dude. They had to replace so much on defense, and South Carolina fans were up and down this chat talking about how they were the greatest team since 2019 LSU. And
we were right.
Dude, they look like dog piss.
Yeah.
That
I said in the summer,
shredded.
I said they might not make a bowl. I said that. And then I was like, you know what? They'll probably make a bowl. Guess what? They ain't making a bowl. Like, it's not looking too good for old Shane down there. Man. And I hope we can take a lot of his recruits. All right. We have 10 minutes before we talk to Coach Chung. Mm-hmm. I want to get through these 3 games, okay? Navy beats USF 41-38. The midshipmen jumped all over these guys. It was 24-9 at the half, but Golish did rally his troops. And boy, oh boy, did they come back. USF cut it to 24-27 in the early fourth quarter after a 60-yard TD run by Brown. Then the two teams literally traded 4 touchdowns. Like, the fourth quarter of this game was bonkers. It was 39 points combined in the fourth quarter. Navy wins 41-38. I guess it was USF. They went for the onside kick. They couldn't get it. And they had one chance with 6 seconds left and no dice. But anyway, Navy wins. Navy had 2 different running backs that went for more than 10 yards a carry in this game. Horvath was back. It wasn't his most prolific game on the ground, but it didn't need to be because other guys were making plays. And we called this, man. We absolutely called this in our last show as one of our favorite plays of the week to take the midshipmen plus. I think they were 10.5-point underdogs. Mm-hmm. They ended up winning by 3. Huge win. And USF is they're cooked.
They're cooked.
It's over.
This was one of the things about USF and Alex Golish was they look like world beaters for 8 of the games, and then 4 of the games they look and I understand Navy's an interesting team to prepare for, but yeah, it just too many performances like this for USF this year. This is the 3rd game where their defense got just absolutely shredded.
What's your guys' take on the committee tomorrow night? Is something that Jimmy McKenna is asking. Top 10, Indiana, Ohio State, Georgia, Texas A&M, Texas Tech, Oregon, Ole Miss, Alabama, BYU, Vanderbilt. I'll tell you what, Vanderbilt's not going to be in the top 10.
No.
But if this is your personal rankings, I don't disagree with them because anywhere from, I would say 7 or 8 on, I think it's 8 on. That's where Oklahoma has 2 losses in the AP poll. It could be anybody. You from 8 to 17, it's going to fluctuate so much. And we're not going to go
be in there
deep on the rankings right now. We'll do a little bit of AP poll talk after we talk to Coach Chung. But yeah, you're missing Notre Dame in there, Jimmy. You didn't have – I don't see a Notre Dame on your list, and the committee loves Notre Dame. And so I would bet you they're going to be a top 10 team. All right, let's finish that thought on Navy. Navy 6-1. They just have Memphis left in conference play. Tulane, North Texas, and ECU are all 5-1, right behind Navy. And so it's still hard to figure out what's happening in this American. But it's wild that USF, who I thought was the best team, is just done. They're they don't have any shot essentially of getting in the playoff, winning the conference. Definitely not making the playoff, but even winning the conference, they're pretty much cooked.
Yeah, they're done.
And JMU is rooting for more chaos because Louisville lost and Southern Miss lost, which is going to hurt their chances in the title game.
I think JMU controls their destiny right now.
Do you? Okay. Mm-hmm. But great win by Navy. Great game. All right. USC comes back to beat Iowa 26-21. This was actually a cool environment. I was impressed with how it sounded and how it looked on TV because it was nasty weather in Los Angeles, which doesn't happen a lot.
Yeah.
Right. Iowa was up 14-0 after 1. Their defense was playing as tough as ever, but USF would cut it to 14-7 after a direct snap to Jackson on a Wildcat play. Iowa would do their own trickeration. They did a Philly special, and Iowa scores a touchdown. It's 21-7 at the half. Well, guess what? That's one of my favorite phrases. Guess what? 21 points. That was the last points Iowa was going to score in this game. The second half belonged to the Trojans. They get the interception at the end of the third quarter, and that would lead to a touchdown for USC. And then they took their first and last lead a little bit after that. This was a big win for USC, and back-to-back tough losses for Iowa in this one.
Yeah, it felt like Iowa was punching above their weight the past 2 weeks, and you give a huge credit to USC for fighting in this one. And it wasn't a pretty game for them. I think they struggled offensively in this one pretty badly, and I think it's going to be tough for them next week too when they travel up to Oregon. That's a much faster, more physically imposing defense. USC, the injuries might be catching up to them offensively. They do have some offensive line injuries, and of course, the running back position, between the transfer portal and injuries, they are way at the bottom of the depth chart. I think that might be catching up to them a little bit here.
Yeah, someone's getting knocked out of the playoff hunt next week with USC and Iowa. Or no, sorry, USC and Oregon. Like, that is because even if Oregon loses, some people think they might still be in. And if they finish 10-2, they would have 2 home losses if USC beats them. And so I don't think you can overcome 2 home losses with all the teams that are going to end up at 10-2. You look at the standings right now, there's a lot of teams that are probably going to have 2 losses in the loss column. Like, 2 home losses probably isn't going to work, even if it is to 2 good teams. Final thing before we get to our guest, I can see Coach Chung in the green room. Georgia takes care of Texas 35-10. Stockton was amazing in this game. Right off the bat, that kid, 24 of 29, 258 total yards, 5 total touchdown for Gunnar Stockton. This Georgia team continues to get better. And that onside kick, Sam, from Kirby Smart late in the game, that was going for the jugular. Man, that was impressive.
I saw a tweet today, I believe it was from Tom Fornelli, where Texas did not take an offensive snap for 42 minutes in this game with a chance to tie or take the lead. Like, this game was out of reach for the vast majority of the game. And Texas came out in the second half and got that touchdown. It was close, and their defense was playing better, and you felt like it was going to be a close game. And then Georgia, similar to what they did at home against Ole Miss earlier in the year, just pedal to the floorboard. No pun intended for the Georgia Bulldogs, but that's what they did. And
at the end of the game, Georgia just 21 points in the fourth quarter.
Like that. Yeah. And Georgia's defense played probably their best game of the year. I thought Texas offensively just didn't. They had a good first drive, and then they ran out of steam real quick. Is Texas done in the playoffs?
Yeah, they're done.
Despite
done. What
even
Kirk
a Texas A&M win?
No, they got 3 losses. This wasn't a close loss. It's a 25-point loss. They lost to a bad Florida team. They're done.
So if they're 9-3 and their 3 losses are all on the road or neutral site to top 6 seeds.
Florida's not a top team.
Oh, Florida. I forgot they lost. Never mind. Yeah, they're gone. Sorry. Sorry. They're gone. I forgot Florida.
Oh, good. So now the
Bama in my head.
The SEC title game race is much more interesting. We got Georgia, we got Ole Miss, and we got Bama, all with 1 loss in conference. Anything can happen these last few weeks. Georgia's done, like you said. They're 7-1. They play GT, they're done with their SEC season. But Ole Miss and Bama still have their rivalry games, so we will see what happens there. It's time to bring on our guest, Coach Eugene Chung, former Virginia Tech offensive lineman, is joining the stream. How you doing, Coach Chung?
I'm great. How are you guys doing?
We are doing awesome. And I will give you a short intro, although a lot of Hokie fans that are of a certain age will remember the name and maybe even remember your son, Kyle, who played for Virginia Tech.
Right. Absolutely.
But you were an FWAA All-American back in 1991, one of our highest draft picks ever. You went number 13 overall to the Patriots. You went on to play in the NFL for 8 years, 1992 to 2000. Son Kyle came in, played at Tech with none other than Sons of Saturday's founder Billy Ray Mitchell for a few years.
Right.
They shared a locker room. And then you went on and you did your coaching thing in the NFL after your playing career. You were with Andy Reid with the Eagles, my Philadelphia Eagles, my team in the NFL. Then you stay with Andy. You go over to Kansas City.
Right.
When Dougie P gets hired, you come back to Philadelphia. And you've been doing your own thing for a couple of years, maybe developing players, getting guys ready for the draft. And now this year you're with Delaware State.
That's
Delaware State Hornets down in Dover. You are their offensive line coach.
That's right.
Before we get to the team, like, how did this come about? How did you end up at Delaware State? Why was this the opportunity that you chose?
Well, it's crazy. I was developing college linemen, getting ready for the draft, for the combine and whatnot. And Deshaun calls me out of the blue. Coach Jackson calls me out of the blue. And he tells me, hey, I got the Delaware State head job. I'm like, where exactly is that, Deshaun? Because it really, you know of University of Delaware, but you really don't hear too much about Delaware State. So, we have that little banter back and forth. And I was like, I'll let you know. Give me a couple of weeks, Deshaun. I got to think about it. I'm down in sunny Florida. I'm in South Florida. I have flip-flops on. I got shorts. It's January. I'm not thinking too much about Delaware right now. So he kept pressing. I mean, if you ever get a chance to meet Deshaun, he's got that personality. He's got that electric personality. He kept pressing, and then, and I thought about it. I was like, you know what? He needs help. He's got a team that's gone 1-11 the past 2 years, and they obviously get help. And he bought. The first thing he told me is, look, it starts with the trenches. It starts in the trenches. I need a guy that can develop these guys to get them going in the right direction. So, I agreed. I showed up at beginning of March. It was probably about 23 degrees. Stepped off the plane with flip-flops, and I'm like, oh my goodness gracious, what did I get myself into? But you know what? I can tell you this, it has been the most fun coaching football in a long time, just with Coach Jackson, the energy he brings and the staff that he's assembled around him has been fantastic.
Delaware State, it's an HBCU. Mm-hmm. It's not had the most rich football history. And so that's when like you said, people know about UD. UD just moved up to FBS, but Delaware State's been struggling for a long time. Yeah. Deshaun Jackson gets that call, but he's never coached before.
That's right.
And now you guys have the connection from being in the locker room at Philadelphia together. Yeah. Like, did you must have had some innate trust in Deshaun to take that opportunity, because this is a big risk for you, changing up all the things that you have going on down in Florida.
Oh, sure. And after talking to him about it and really, his vision and his goals for this team, I threw my hat in. I was like, you know what, I'm all in, Deshaun, because wherever he's gone, he's a winner. Wherever I've gone and coached, I've won. So you get that, that combination together. I mean, between Deshaun and I, our NFL experience is 35 years between the two of us. Now you throw in Clinton Portis, who has 9-10 years of experience, and you throw in our tight ends coach, who has 5-6 years of experience. So all of a sudden you're like, wow, our offensive coordinator, he spent 2 years in the league also with the Cleveland Browns. So you start looking at it. I think our staff together, defensive side and offensive side, I think we have like 60, 65 years of NFL experience. So we know what it looks like, and we know what it's supposed to look like. And that was probably the big struggle we had in the very beginning, was changing the culture and the mindset of these kids that have gone, 2-22 in 2 years, for them to buy into what we were doing. And I tell you, there were some growing pains, but we got it done.
You say that, but it doesn't seem like it with the success you've had. Now we'll hold the thought on that, because I'm so curious what it's like to work under head coach Deshaun Jackson, because most people know Deshaun as the flashy player that he was in the NFL for the Eagles and the Redskins, running along the end zone instead of going in and backflipping and all this stuff.
Yeah.
What's it like working for him?
I tell you, it has been an amazing ride. I was coaching with the Eagles when he was there, when he was a player, and I witnessed all that, the miracle in the Meadowlands, making sure he's getting into meetings and getting into making sure I'm getting him to the game. But I tell you what, it's that attitude and the competitive nature of him hasn't changed one bit. I would say it's even notched up even more. So if anyone that knows Deshaun, he's a competitor. He wants to win, and that's all he's ever done is win in his life. Ever since a young age, you look at his backstory. of him growing up. And I think it's ever since he was like 6 years old, he's told us that he's played nothing but football. So Deshaun the player is completely different than Deshaun the coach. Deshaun the coach is absolutely amazing. The way he leads, the way he commands, the kids, the students, and the administration too. He brings a certain swagger to that university that they haven't seen before, which they have never seen before. I mean, we just played a game in Lincoln Financial where we've had almost 50,000 people, and it was
against Michael Vick.
Two guys that I coached at the same time. Imagine that roster right there. So it was absolutely amazing for these kids because that's an experience none of them will, the majority of them will not have, playing in an NFL stadium. And the Eagles did it absolutely right. They decked the whole stadium out in DSU colors, painted the field DSU. It was our home game, and just really treated them right. But going to work every day and seeing him rolling up, he's rolling up in his Cadillac, e-car, and it's just blaring music, and here comes his entourage and everything. He brings a swagger that's just, it's so cool. It's almost surreal to actually see it.
And when I was watching the Morgan State game, which was 2 weeks ago, he's got like 3 chains on. He's got the same swag and presence that he did as a player, like as a coach on the sideline, chains flopping as he's like pumping the 4th down call.
I tell you, he is intense on that sideline now. I mean, he demands that from all of us, all the time. And that swag that he brings, it's great because this suitcase he brings to the game. So he's got 3, maybe 4 different outfits on game day. When he comes to the stadium, pregame, then the game, it's awesome. So he's sitting there putting it all together with his, what do they call it, the ice and stuff like that. I mean, he's probably got $250,000 on his neck alone. So it's great to see that, especially out of HBCU, that swag that he brings and that swagger. I think kind of Deion kind of paved the way with that and gave the blueprint for everybody. But it's just great to see that. But then at the same time, he commands the respect from his team, the refs, and the opposing team also.
Yeah, I think that's part of the success that you've seen with Deion Sanders, first at Jackson State and now at Colorado, is there is an authenticity to it. Like, he's not trying to be somebody else he is. Like, Deion Sanders is trying to be Deion Sanders. And what we've seen early in the career of Deshaun Jackson and also of Michael Vick at Norfolk State down here the road is an authenticity to how they're approaching this. And that really is kind of the recipe for success. Did you expect the team and the program to, you talked about growing pains and the record's pretty good for having growing pains so far. Did you expect it to be able to work in September and October, or did you say, man, we got a lot of work to do?
I saw it, probably at the end of August. I saw it all coming together now. When I first showed up, it was spring ball, and I had 7 linemen. I had 7 offensive linemen, and I'm looking at my roster going, oh my goodness, what did I get myself into? Which 3 could play, but I still have those 7 linemen on my roster, and all of them. My starting right guard right now is maybe 220 pounds. And everyone, oh yeah. I always ask them, hey, have you eaten today? Like, we need to, put some. Put some I mean, it's amazing. So because of injury and everything, he was one that was kind of on his way out. But I was like, what, this kid's a fighter. I want him. Give him to me. Let me develop him. Let him grow. And sure enough, he's growing. He's that little scrappy kid that, you have to hold back. And he goes in and gets it. Even all the defensive coaches, like, I don't, and they tell me after every game, I don't see how you do what you do with the success that we're having with those guys. But it's part of the process. It's, it's next man up mentality. And you train them the way you would train a starter. And that's what's, I think, lacking in college football off, because once you lose a starter, you see the huge drop off in talent and production. So that's kind of one of the things I hang my hat on as a coach.
From what I can tell, and you talked a little bit about the staff and their NFL experience, but there's a lot of young guys in the staff. And I'm not saying that you're an old man, but like by comparison, there's just there's a lot less experience on this staff as compared to what you've done in your career. You're the vet in the room. Like, that's really your role. What's that dynamic been like for you?
Oh, it's great. They lean on me quite a bit. They come in and they ask, is this, you think this is good? Should we be doing this? Should we be doing more of this, less than this? So there's a balance there, with that, especially with the first year head coach, second year coaching football. He's always reaching out. He leans on his staff tremendously, which I think is the recipe for success. A lot of times these coaches come, it's my way, only my way, and we're doing it my way, and it doesn't work. He leans on us for advice and guidance, just from the older coaches, which I am an older coach. Thanks for bringing that up. I feel real good about myself right
now. Oddly enough, that leaning on your assistants, that's something that Coach Frank Beamer always emphasized. He always talked about, like, I'm nothing without my assistants.
Right.
I need them. And it's it was never like Frank's way or the highway. It was always, let's work on this together. And let's talk about this team that you got now, because they're 8-3. They stay unbeaten in conference play with the win over Howard on Saturday. And now you have a chance to not only win the MEAC championship, but earn a berth to the Celebration Bowl. You're playing South Carolina State this weekend. And you said about the previous record, the last 2 seasons, this team won 1 game each season.
Yeah.
And prior to that, like, this is the first season with more than 7 wins since the magical 2007 season. And very few people probably remember that. I'm a native Delawarean. Like, I remember that year for DSU and them playing UD and how that game hadn't happened in forever and how great it was. And to do what you guys have done for this program that's been really so down for so long in year 1, it's shocking. It really is shocking. And so, like Sam asked you how you got it together so quickly, but like, it's a lot of it is thanks to what you're doing. The offensive line and run game coordinator, which I believe is your full title.
Yes.
You have the #1 rushing attack in FCS in both yards per carry and yards per game. How did you do that?
It all comes down to fundamentals. It always, that saying, I don't fear a man that practices 10,000 kicks one time, the man that practices 1 kick 10,000 times. If you see my individual drills during practice, we're doing the same thing over and over and over and over again. We're doing it so much that guys get bored with it because now it becomes second nature. So that's kind of like the secret sauce there when it comes to that. And then, we add in a few wrinkles, keep the defense honest. The thing with college football, and this is what blew my mind, when I first started watching film, I looked at defenses like, what's wrong with this defense? It's really lopsided. Well, the hashes are that much wider. And so that's something I've really had to get used to. But then with the hashes being wider, the defense has to cheat the field. So it's easy. It's like, I always tell the guys, this is going to be like shooting fish in a barrel.
That's so funny.
So it's just developing those guys. And I mean, it's the things we run aren't it's no secret what we're doing. It's just the way we surface our departure angles, things that I did in the NFL.
You must be seeing a lot from Coach Portis too. And you guys must work together a fair amount, being the running backs coach and the offensive line coach. Like Clinton Portis, so for the listeners that aren't aware, great running back for Washington, is the running backs coach on this team. More than one celebrity former player on this team.
Yeah.
What's Clinton like as a coach?
He's great. Every coaching staff needs a Clinton Portis. You know what I mean? So he gets it. He commands his room. He gets those players playing right and fundamentally right. And he matches up to what I teach, ideology wise. But the comic relief we get from him when things start getting tight, I mean, he just comes out of nowhere with these one-liners and it breaks the ice. I tell you, it's great having him on staff. I mean, it's been great getting to know him and just really see his coaching mind, because this is his first year coaching football also on this level or any type of organized sport like this. And he's doing a fantastic job also.
When you're positioned, right, obviously offensive line coach, but for the listeners out there, you also have run game coordinator. We know offensive coordinator and, potentially play caller with that offensive coordinator position. What does it mean to be a run game, and or pass game coordinator as a coach? And what do you do maybe on game days that just a normal run-of-the-mill offensive line coach might not do?
Yeah, right. So the tag run game coordinator, I have to make sure that everything matches up with our action passes along with the coordinator. So we're not just running plays, run plays. It has to match all the formations we do. That's all a part of coordinating that. When it's just one person alone, I think a lot of it gets lost in translation. And that's the great thing about our offensive coordinator, Nemo Washington. We sit there and we talk and we're like, this is great. Let's run this because this matches up with this formation. We'll have 4 or 5 more plays out of this. Well, I think a lot of times where you just have a coordinator and an O-line coach, it becomes very apparent and transparent on what you're doing. It's like, oh, this is a run because they never run this formation here. So we make sure everything matches up. So if we have a pass play, we have a run play out of it. When we have a run play, we have 2 or 3 passes out of it also. So defenses can't really dial in on what we do. And then during the game, I mean, halftime's like the Wall Street, floor. I mean, we're going and we're drawing things, making sure they all line up. Our tablets are down there, and this school is not used to the way we coach. So, we demanded, halftime tablets in the locker room. We need, all these things where we can make our adjustments and come up with a whole new strategy, second half.
You must like coaching at the college level, like the way you were talking about the hash marks and maybe some of the mental advantages you have coming from the NFL. Do you enjoy being back on the college level?
Well, this is the first time I've ever coached. Really,
well, since you played, you haven't been back yet.
Exactly right. At first, it was just a little bit of a learning curve behind that, but I am enjoying it. And what I'm enjoying the most is developing these kids. I'm developing these young players and the men also. Just giving them my wisdom, my experience, because so many kids come into my office, close the door, coach, I need some advice, coach, I need some advice, so that's been probably the most rewarding part of it. Yes, winning, of course, everyone wants to win, but developing these kids into young men and getting them ready. I mean, we probably have, 3 or 4 on our roster right now that could play in the league. They just, fell through the cracks in high school. Didn't have the grades, but they came here, other places filled up. So you see that talent rise. And when you see that, that's rewarding.
Do you have any kind of aspirations beyond the season? Are you living in the moment? Do you want to get back to the NFL? Like, what's your mindset there?
So right now it's this game, really. I mean, there's things in the talks. There's people calling. There's, I'm getting all this stuff. I mean, GMs, personnel people say, when are you coming back? When do you want to come back? We can, because they see the body of work. Once you see the body of work, and all of a sudden there was hardly any scouts here at all. Then all of a sudden there's scouts here every week, every day. Then you start, then word starts getting around. So, but right now my mind is to help these kids out this week, win this game, and then go to the Celebration Bowl.
North Carolina State.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
Go 1-0 this week.
That's right.
And that's been our motto all season. Let's go 1-0.
I want to ask one more thing, Sam, before we move to some tech stuff, because I want to talk a little bit about the tech days, but you're connected to some of the biggest names in the sport between Andy Reid and the Kelsey brothers, right? Like the two teams that the Kelseys played for. You're, I had a picture of you with Jason, like teaching technique, and with Jeff Stoutland with the Super Bowl trophy, which thank you for winning Super Bowl 52 with those guys, by the way. One of the best nights and weekends and years of my life, being a lifelong Eagles fan. But they even mentioned you on their New Heights podcast. I retweeted the clip like about a month back. The Bull Don't Care. Yeah. What's the deal with the Bull Don't Care?
Okay, so that's a great, because so many people are asking me about that now. So there was on the Pro Bull Riders tour, there was a bull. His name was Bodacious. He was so dangerous. If you could ride him for 8 seconds, you won $1 million. So the last rider that rode him had every bone in his face broken, shattered. So they're like, this bull is too dangerous. We're retiring him. So my point was, look, this bull was the greatest athlete that ever lived. Whether he had a sore hamstring, a broken hoof, the sniffles, CTE, whatever. When those lights came on, he was messing somebody up, and he did not care the circumstances. It could be the parking lot. He was messing someone up. So I keep reiterating that. He's like, dude, it doesn't matter where we're playing. We can play in the link. We can play in our parking lot. The bull doesn't care. Let's go make that block. Let's go make that play. And,
Jason Kelsey absolutely lived by that. He would always talk about how he basically just didn't acknowledge pain. Because he wasn't the biggest guy. I mean, he played center, which is not always your biggest offensive lineman, but like even for centers, he wasn't that big.
Yeah.
And he just played through so much injury. You'd see him with the full elbow gear. And he just said, I don't acknowledge it. And I guess that came back to maybe some of your coaching, and the Bull don't care what's going on. You just go out there and you play.
Oh, yeah, it's fantastic. The guy had complete disregard for his body. When I remember when he was coming out, I was evaluating him as a center. I had him. Okay, so there was another episode on their podcast where he said he should be in the second round. I had him ranked as a second center that year behind Pouncey. Now, as far as the draft, I don't know where centers go. I have no idea where centers go. But if you watched his film, I said, this guy's got some shit in his neck. Excuse my language. Is this kid?
You can curse.
We're good. Okay, don't tell me that because I'll go off. But, long story short, you look at it, for however many 13, 14 years later, the proof was in the pudding because you watched him play. He played like a man possessed. Every play, even in practice, it was amazing what this guy would do. He'd come out and you could tell he was hurting. But as soon, and he had that boat. He had that bull don't care. As soon as it was time to practice, it was on. And he didn't care. He was going to fight you. He did whatever it took for him to be the best player out there.
There was a game late in his career in the playoffs. We played the Giants, and they had Dexter Lawrence, who is a massive inside presence for the Giants. And Kelsey's 35, something like that.
Yeah.
And he whipped Lawrence's ass the entire day, and we crushed them. And but that's just beside the point. Let's move to some Tech questions. I know people want to take
more Eagles wins. Come on, let's
take it back to the 90s. I know we got to do it because you were one of Frank's first guys, right, Sam?
Yeah.
I was.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
First recruiting class, and one of the. I'll start with that too. A new coach coming into a school. You're from the DMV, Maryland area. Some guy comes in from Murray State, is going to be a coach at Virginia Tech, and wants you to come down to Blacksburg. What were your initial thoughts about Coach Beamer, about the Virginia Tech program? Because that was prior. Many people forget this and think about the mid 90s teams as setting the foundation. There was a whole group of teams before that set the foundation for the foundation.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
What was it like? What sold you on Frank Beamer?
So this is a great story. First of all, Bud Foster recruited me. Everyone knows Bud Foster.
He must have been very young at the time.
He was 24 years old. I remember walking into the weight room where my head coach was, and I'm like, man, you're young. He's like, yeah, I'm 24, so, and he told me about Coach Beamer and everything. And I was like, yeah, I'll come down for a visit. So it's interesting. Let's rewind however many years that was ago.
Are you in Oakton High School?
I can't in my head, it was so long ago.
Yeah.
1986, 87. So Wake Forest was recruiting me. NC State was recruiting me. There were a bunch of other schools. And that year, all of them got fired. Right after the season.
Every coach got fired?
It was basically every coach that was interested, like Wake Forest, NC State, Bobby Ross. Who was Bobby Ross? He was at Maryland. He got fired. So it was one Dooley got fired. I'm like, what is going on here? And back then it wasn't like it is today. You sent your VHS tape in or whatever, and you got a questionnaire in the mail, and then you're waiting for a phone call. So Coach Foster, he comes in, so he tells me, let's take a visit to Virginia Tech. Absolutely loved it. Blacksburg in January, beautiful place.
Those drill field walks. Don't remind us. Come on now.
Absolutely loved it. Loved people. Loved Coach Beamer. Loved Mike Gentry. Loved all that. So it came down to UNC and Virginia Tech. And I remember talking to Mac Brown, him saying, you should feel honored that we're offering you a scholarship. And I was like, I am. We had Lawrence Taylor. We had Michael Jordan just left here. Telling me that I should feel honored that they're even considering me. I'm sitting in Coach Beamer's office, and he said, Eugene, we'd be honored if you came and played for Virginia Tech. Done.
It was the reverse.
Yeah. They were honored. I should feel honored. It was done. So that was it right there. And that was sold. Done.
And back then, to get to Tech, even when I started at Tech, the 460 bypass wasn't done. There used to be a phrase all dirt roads lead to Virginia Tech. And at least you were in the state, right? Weren't you Oakton?
Northern Virginia.
Yeah. So, but still, that's a 4-hour drive, some dirt roads maybe to get there. That was an interesting choice at the time. And I don't know what your recruiting status was, and everything changes, but to be in that, it was his first recruiting class, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. And they got a late start on the recruiting process on that. So it was interesting, and guys really weren't working out because they didn't have a strength coach yet. everything was brand new. So they were scrambling on that, because I remember Syracuse was one of my choices too, with Dick McPherson. And I remember going up there with on my visit, and there was 20 feet of snow on the ground and you couldn't see. I was like, oh, man, there's no way in hell I'm coming here. So no, but it was crazy. And then literally probably 2 weeks after National Signing Day, Tech got put on probation. People don't remember that.
Oh yeah.
We got put on probation. I'm like, wow. And it's amazing. And a lot of people don't know, they stripped us of our shoe contracts, all this stuff. It was a mess, but we were offered a chance to transfer without penalty because of that. And I was like, no, I'm staying here.
Do you still keep in touch with any of the guys from
I
back in the Tech days?
Yeah, I do. A handful of players I played with, a few of the coaches. I reached out to Coach Foster today. I talk to Coach Beamer probably about once, twice a year, just
That's
on
great.
some advice. I mean, and you know, the greatest thing is I'll call him, he'll pick up the phone. Hey, Eugene, what's going on? How you doing, Coach? You know, you can call me Frank. Okay, Coach. He will always be Coach to me. You know, it doesn't matter. So
that's the sign of a good coach, I feel like.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I'm going to add our friend that works with us on Sunday Saturday, Coach Holmes, to the screen. He is a 5th generation Hokie and a big fan of everything Virginia Tech. We've got Coach Chung here. We've got Coach Holmes here. And I wanted to ask Eugene, and while we have Mike here too, we hired a new coach today for Virginia Tech. And being in Philly for so long, I would have to imagine you had a little bit of experience or knowledge of Coach Franklin over the years and stuff. Do you have any kind of reaction to it, Coach? Are you kind of like in your own bubble down at DSU? Like, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it was a necessary hire, I think. You know, absolutely. I remember coaching some Penn State guys. You know, they're always talking high accolades about the guy. So, you know, hopefully he can come in and turn this thing around. I know I think it's an uphill battle for him, but I think with his pedigree that he brings in and his experience and just owning Pennsylvania recruiting wise, I think that's going to be a big help.
Yeah. Yeah. Mike, your initial thoughts on Coach Franklin, and if you have any questions for Coach Chung as we're kind of chopping it up here. And Coach, Coach Chung, I don't want to keep you for any longer than you have, but if you don't mind just hanging out, like you're welcome to hang out for a bit.
I just want to know how he did that backdrop here. I'm not the most tech savvy.
Yeah, Mike's got the nice Burris Hall behind him and everything.
I got my Airbnb behind me, you know.
Well, first off, Coach Chung, big fan of everything you did while you were at Virginia Tech. Big fan of everything you're doing now. As a O-line coach myself, I love everything that y'all are doing.
Yeah, thank you.
But honestly, we are officially, and again, everything has to play out, obviously, but it gives the impression that right now Virginia Tech is in big boy football territory. It is something that ever since Coach Beamer has left, there's been kind of a void there. And no offense to Coach Fuente, no offense to Coach Pry, but now we are in a mode now where we can be a player in the grand scheme of modern day landscape college football at the P4 level. So it is something that has been needed, for lack of a better term, as far as Virginia Tech is concerned, but it's also something that I think is going to reinvigorate the fan base. It's going to reinvigorate not just the big donors, but also the little donors. So where we can get to the point where it's kind of like Clemson, where they have their IPTAY program. Everybody, gives a little bit every year, where we can get more of those. And those things, it doesn't seem like a lot, but when you have 35,000 kids at a school and then everybody can donate at least $25 a year, that stuff piles up.
Sure.
And every single dollar adds to the success of the program.
Sure.
And that type of internal motivation and external motivation is just going to keep bringing recruits in. It's going to keep bringing attention. More importantly, I think the high school coaches that Coach Franklin has had a relationship with for the last 20 years, going back to his stints at Maryland when he was offensive coordinator, and then going in North Carolina. I had the pleasure of working with a guy named Danny O'Brien, who was at East Forsyth High School, who ended up going to Maryland and following Coach Franklin up there under Ralph Friedgen, ended up going to Wisconsin after he left to go to Vandy. But, that type of relationship in our general footprint is just going to make such a huge change in what we can do and the kids that we can pull.
Yeah, it's going to be huge. I have a question kind of for both of you guys, as both Coach Chung and Coach Holmes, about something that Virginia Tech, I feel like, was a staple under Brent Pry and maybe some other coaches, especially along the offensive line, was guys switching positions either mid-year or in between years. You'd have a guy go from guard to tackle, and then 1 week he's back at tackle, and one week he's at left guard, and 1 week he's at right guard. Coach Holmes has done a great job, I think, educating our audience on the difficulties of that, whether it's down to what you're looking at pre-snaps to your footwork. It's not just hit the guy in front of you all the time, right? There's a lot of intricacies to those positions. how important is it to get a guy and make them a master of that footwork, that technique, that pre-snap? Obviously, you're going to have to move guys around. You only have so many offensive linemen on the roster. But talk to that importance, and is it something that is a sign of a good offensive line coach when you can have guys in their position?
Oh, no, absolutely, 100%. Just to get, let's say, just a tackle, a pure tackle, to get his, footwork and just the muscles that are trained, it's completely different skill set than a guard or left tackle to right tackle. It's a completely different skill set. And all the ancillary muscles that are involved, training that and developing that, you have to be almost like a master of that, and just knowing the genetics and the physiology of how the body moves. And then to interchange guys, mid-season, that's a tall order right there. That's a heavy lift. So to be able to do that in the time constraints that you have, in college football, I mean, that is a tall order. So to be able to, but a good offensive line coach will always cross-train his guys. You have your starting five, then you have your backups, and the backups have to know every position. That's my case right now. I mean, oh my gosh, I haven't had a healthy offensive line all year. Like I said before,
you got a 220-pound tackle,
right guard. I mean, and it's crazy.
Run some wing T, coach.
Oh yeah, I know. I just cut every play. No, but it's mastering that skill set and teaching that to the offensive line to be functional and to be serviceable. That's a tall order in itself. But then to be successful on top of that as a player and as a coach, it takes a lot of time, effort, and patience to get that going. So any offensive line coach knows exactly what I'm talking about. It's different skill sets as you move down the line. People think, oh, well, he plays guard, he can go out to tackle. It's like, nah, it's not that easy. Yeah, he can finish a game for you, but to be a master at it, it's completely different.
It's something that's going to be extremely important with the staff, and something that maybe Coach Pride never got right was offensive line. And we had the unfortunate thing of Coach Rudolph leaving us quickly and then trying to fill that with Ron Crokin.
Yeah.
But one thing that Bill O'Brien dealt with at Penn State and then Franklin had to fix was offensive line play. Christian Hackenberg got his butt served to him because they couldn't get the offensive line right. And we saw it happen down at Florida State with the things they had going on after Fisher and before that. So we need to get offensive line right. And I don't know that there's any quick way to do that, especially, but nowadays, Coach Chung, I would imagine it can be easier than ever in terms of grabbing guys from the portal, but there's a cost that comes with that.
Sure. There is, this whole college landscape now with the NILs and the open transfer portal. It's the wild, wild west. Even though you're getting somebody that might be a better athlete, you still have to coach them. It's not just plug and play. And that's where being a good offensive line coach comes in handy, having somebody that can develop guys, even though, the way I look at the portal is, I'm getting someone else's, not trash, but low-hanging fruit. He doesn't want to be there for a reason. He wants to get in the portal and try to go somewhere else. And that's the kind of problem I have right now with college football. Just because something's not going your way, let me go find a place that wants me and I can play right away without going through the rigors, the trials and tribulations, and the heartache of becoming that player. So, it's not so much the NCAA, but it's whatever these colleges have agreed upon. Let's open up the portal, free trade, it's free agency every off season. And that makes it difficult. That synergy that you have to have within the offensive line makes it difficult, especially when the bigger schools come in and dangle these carrots in front of the guys.
Would you say that building an offensive line at the college level is what's the most important part about that? Relationships with certain high school that breed them better or coach them better? Is it finding a certain body type that works that you think or know as the offensive line coach is going to translate to the next level? How does that kind of play out? And obviously it's not a one size fits all answer, but I'm just curious your thoughts on that.
It's a little bit of everything. It's building those relationship with the coaches in that area, because you might not know every coach, but this coach knows this coach that has a player that, that can play, that it's been overlooked because he has a star stud on his team. It's building those relationships, one, and recruiting. I'm learning this firsthand. It's building those relationships, because they'll be the ones that will call you first. Hey, I got a guy here that might fit your needs. And then it's evaluating. It's being able to evaluate a guy just from the film. You know, they send all these highlights and everything. I mean, if I sent my highlights and I made all pro every year, you know, but it's going and actually evaluating and seeing what they can do if they have bend, if they have range, if they, if they're flexible, if they can recover from awkward positions. I think that's a lot where, these coaches who just get huddle highlights don't see that or don't know how to recognize that. And digging, peeling the layers of the onion back when you go on the visits, things like that. Simple flexibility test, tells you a lot on an athletic ability of somebody, and and see what kind of grit they have. That way. I mean, it's not rocket science by any means, but there is some knowledge that has to go behind it to develop an offensive line and to build an offensive line. Just because you're grabbing guys from Auburn and Georgia and stuff doesn't mean your offensive line will be successful.
Yeah. Well, and to piggyback on that, Coach, I know from the high school side, whenever we would get our linemen to, we would find, of course, all their pancakes, and every time they pull and kick out a guy, if they were on the upfield shoulder, that's what we wanted to see. But again, we would also want to make sure we drill footwork, everything else. If you're a a jack of all trades, go back to your previous question that Sam asked, you're a master of none. And so, some guys are really good in the middle, really good centers. Some guys are good at pulling, you want those guys at your guards. I was a wing T coach. That's, that was, and so we always wanted guards that were a little bit quicker. But we were also angle blocking. We weren't necessarily going big on big the whole time. But in modern college football, with a lot of the zone schemes and everything else, you don't really see a whole lot of gap. I mean, occasionally people will mix in gap, but most of your run schemes are going to be inside and outside zone. And so it's all about footwork. How quick can you get upfield? How quick can you get your hands? How quick can you turn shoulders? Things like that. And so it's having to piecemeal a line, as Coach can probably attest to as well. Having to piecemeal one together on the fly is always difficult, because sometimes you're putting a guy, even if it's a backup, you're saying, okay, this guy has the best feet. I may need to put him at guard if I'm running a lot of inside zone, if that's my emphasis. If I'm running a lot of duo, if I'm on run, things like that. So I just want to it's just so crucial to make sure that everything is right. But getting into the recruiting part of it, again, it's all about making sure that some of Tech's best offensive linemen in the most recent years have been converted. Dwayne Brown was a converted tight end. Wyatt Teller was a D tackle. The guys that have had a lot longevity in the NFL.
That is interesting. Some of the conversions that have been made. I mean, one of the best offensive linemen ever, Jason Peters, wasn't he a conversion? Like
he was a tight end.
Yeah, right.
He was a 320-pound tight end. Yeah, so that was feet right there. Yeah, absolutely.
If you had really good feet and really good hips, but you may not have the overall top speed to be a tight end, that's a tough conversation. Is there this is a good spot for you?
Is there a guy who, when you're teaching your offensive lineman Tech, hey, this is what it looks like. This is what the perfect pull block looks like. This is what the perfect pass pro from the left tackle looks like. Whose film do you turn on? Who do you point to as like, this is the guy?
So Jason Peters, and then Lane Johnson, and then Jordan Mailata also. So now those guys right there on the outside.
I like those guys.
Yeah.
Three of my favorite guys. I was so sad to see the thing about the Liz Frank with Lane Johnson. He is a tactician, and he's got those long arms, and he's just had such a great career.
And he was a quarterback in junior college. So
I've heard that.
Yeah. So I remember going to work him out in Oklahoma, because we had the first pick that year. In Kansas City, we went and worked him out. And I was like, out of all my interviews and everything, he was my favorite. He was just absolutely my favorite. Laid back, but you could tell the wheels were turning. He does everything to be the best. That's his bar. He's like, I want to be the best that this game's ever played. So, but when I show film to the guys, I show him Lane, I show him Jason Peters, Trent Williams. His footwork is phenomenal, along with his hands and feet work independently of each other. And that's another training thing I do also, because a lot of linemen, when they punch, everything freezes. I have drills and fundamental work that teaches these guys how to use feet and hands independently of each other. But those guys right there, and then Jordan, I mean, that's enough. And then center work, when my 220-pound guard says I'm too small, I pop on Jason Kelsey's film. I was like, you're too small. Okay, this guy's too small. Now this guy's too small right here. Watch this. And it sparks them up. It gives them like, oh my gosh, okay, I can do what he does. That's you're teaching me and you're coaching me the way you coach them. So it's having that is an advantage because I have like some merit and some backing behind it. So I know what I'm talking about. I'm not some fly-by-night O-line coach, but it's just that being able to show them that on a fly, and then them actually meeting them. When we went up to the link, it was great. It was fun.
That's cool. And some of your connections too. You might be able to pull some of those relationships at times to give you an edge, maybe in a recruiting battle or a little bit of advice here or there. Does that ever happen?
Oh, sure. I mean, yeah. I mean, it does. One of the kids from one of the recruits from Philadelphia, he's wavering between. I don't even know what school he wants to waver to. That's they're trash. But he's like, yeah, Coach, I heard the Kelseys talking about you on their podcast. I was like, oh, that's cool. That's great. Yeah, I coach both of them, believe it or not. And two opposite ends of the spectrum. Those two guys. Travis is like a screwball,
yes.
And then Jason is, he's kind of screwy, but
they're both screwy, but Travis is really goofy. Yeah,
you would never think that they're from the same gene pool. I mean, it's unbelievable to me.
Cleveland Heights, baby.
Can I,
Northeast Ohio kids are crazy.
Yeah, Sam went to high school in Ohio, I think, for a little bit.
Yeah.
Do you ever? I had something else. Oh, this is what it was. HBCU.
Mm-hmm.
You were the first Korean player ever drafted to the NFL. So you see where I'm going here?
I know where you're going. Go spit it out.
How does that dynamic work? Because are you the only non-African American member of the staff?
No. We have our token hires on there also.
Okay.
So we have a volunteer. We got two volunteers that are not that are white. But then there's me. What I mean? So the greatest thing is, I actually had to recruit this past spring, and I went down to South Florida, where I live, and I go in and I tell them, I'm at Delaware State, and they're like, isn't that an HBCU school? I'm like, oh yeah, it's HBCU. But I'm offering a white quarterback. Here's this Asian coach. At an HBCU offering a white quarterback. I'm like,
that's great.
You can't make this up. I mean,
I used to hear, because growing up in Delaware, it's like, oh, you could go to DSU. Like I could have gone. There's 5%. I think it's 5% of the student population is white or non-African American.
Yeah.
But yeah, it wasn't a primary choice, but it was a possibility. And I've been to DSU. I've toured it. I've had a few events there. It's a nice little campus right in the heart of Dover. Yeah. And we wish you a ton of luck next week. Do you have any, or this weekend, I should say, do you have anything you'd like to plug before we let you go? Like where the people can find you on Twitter? I don't know if you're an avid tweeter or Instagrammer or I know you do your development stuff, but maybe that's on the back burner right now.
Yeah, right. I do develop. X3 Performance down in Fort Myers is where I do all my college combine prep work, and I am on Instagram. Don't ask me my handle. It's my son set it up for me. I think it's the Eugene Chung.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's the
something like that. So, no, but it's. It's cool. There's so many things that's going on right now. It's with this school. We had First Take with Stephen A. It's called First Take. Yeah, First Take with Stephen A. was on campus. Then we play at the Link, and Good Morning America comes over, and and coaches are doing these things with ESPN, and else. It's been a fantastic ride, and it's been great fun. Plug wise, I'm like, what are you actually talking about? You guys, I'm in a different generation than you guys.
Well, I'll tell you, if people haven't watched, you can check out Delaware State games or watch them, because I watched the game against Norfolk State here, and it's really awesome football and just general FCS football. Right. If you don't watch it, it is super high level football. Yeah. Like you don't really notice any sort of drop off. There's a ton of talent. The coaching is really inventive. You see a lot of really cool stuff.
Oh yeah.
So give it some time and watch it. And like Pete has said multiple times, like what you guys have done this year is it's such a testament to the effort put in. It's mind boggling.
It's historic. Like, it really is historic, the things you're doing. They, DSU, 8-win season already. They can do more. And I'm not jinxing anything, but like, they can do more. This is the first 8+ win season since 2007.
Yeah.
It's been a good while. It's been like 18 years. So this is really impressive stuff. Thank you so much for being here, Coach. Like, we really appreciate you taking the time out of your night here.
No, you guys are welcome. It's great. And I'm glad. I love what you guys are doing, for Hokie sports and all that. And that's fantastic. So I'm glad to see this. And, I pay attention more now. So I'm like on my phone a little more watching you guys, believe it or not. So you guys have a fan over here in Delaware. So
thank you.
Hey, well, maybe
go
Maybe
ahead.
if we make an O-line coach hire, we can tap in and see what you think about it.
There you go.
And give Kyle our best as well. We always appreciate
Yes.
what he did for Hokie Nation. All those starts he did at right tackle, and
Oh my God.
he had a lot of stuff going on in his career. So we appreciate what he did for us as well.
Thank you guys.
All right, have a good night.
Appreciate it.
Thanks,
Take
Coach.
care.
Bye, Coach. All right, Coach Holmes is going to stick with us here for a second. Let me just tell everybody that College Football Monday is brought to you by Roback. Roback is the performance activewear designed for those who crave activity. You can go to roback.com, load up your cart, use code 2DEEPVT to get 20% off your order. Yes, Mike is rocking one of those nice Roback hoodies right now. That's the TV logo. That is sweet. Use code 2DEEPVT on their hoodies, their polos, their quarter zips, joggers, lady stuff. They got it all. Roback, crave activity. Sam, are you drinking beer tonight or no? You grabbed the beer at the beginning.
Yeah, we're too deep.
I know we're 2 hours in, but we had a lot to do tonight. We did some Franklin reaction.
I'm finishing up
Coach
the
Chung.
pumpkin spice lagers from Devil's Backbone. These are really good. Love them. Devil's Backbone, awesome. I'm going to be switching to some darker beers for the Too Deep show. Got some. Some people have messaged me recommendations. I don't know if I can get all of them down here. I'm in one more week in the Tidewater area till we're up permanently in New York, and I'll be able to have some new stuff up there, which I'm really excited about too. So stay tuned.
Some comments in here that we missed about. I think that's about Kyle.
Yep, it's about Kyle.
Geographical area that James Franklin that he can recruit is mind blowing. You have VT ties. That is massive, and that is true. That is something that Mike earlier in the show when we had Brett and Irby on. We were talking about the recruiting ties and that footprint. Do you think the footprint that Franklin's going to have now, 6 hours outside of Blacksburg, do you think that is more rich with talent than the one he had at State College 6 hours out?
So, yes, because now you can get into the Carolinas a little bit more, but also he is a national name.
Mm-hmm.
He is going to be able to get national guys. And it's not the 3-star random shot in the dark guys like the Texas to VT movement that we had, years ago. This is, he's going to be able, he is a legit quarterback developer. He has done it his entire career. And there he is with Coach Franklin. He's going to be able to get guys from California. He's going to be able to get guys from Florida that probably should go to a Miami or a Florida State or a Florida traditionally, but we can get some of those guys where maybe Virginia, the Commonwealth has lacked quarterback production in the previous decade.
And we've probably lacked offensive line production.
Yes. And, a lot of those guys, when we did have linemen in the Commonwealth, they would go to Virginia. The Morgan Moseses of the world and some of those guys. So, a lot of your linemen will come from the Northeast. He, can get a lot of those cats. What I'm really interested in seeing is what he's going to do with this next 2 weeks, 3 weeks leading up into early signing period, being able to get some of those guys, but also all of the guys. There's been 17 decommitments from Penn State since he's left.
Yep.
And they had a top 10 recruiting class, if I'm not mistaken. And if they really, really, truly loved Coach Franklin, like everything I'm reading says that the players just absolutely loved him. There's a really good shot that we could have a good majority of a future or current Penn State roster in Blacksburg next year. And I don't want to say that the kids that we have are garbage. That's not what I'm saying. But if you can replace a 3-star with a 4-star or 5-star, and again, it's all projection.
Yes.
But if you can, there's a really good opportunity to do that now.
You want to raise the talent level. Like
Yes.
that's, and I know
talent floor.
Yes, exactly. So you're trying to, that talent composite, sometimes it means nothing, but on the whole, the blue chip ratio, that matters. Like it does matter.
Yes.
And Penn State has been a blue chip ratio team. And if we have never sniffed that, Sam.
Not even a gray chip, not even a red chip, not a green chip. We aren't even buying into the craps table. We don't even have any.
Maybe
chips.
in like 2002, before we were really ranking these things,
we're playing
close.
We're playing slots with dirty old quarters we found under the couch, man. We're not playing with it. Is the talent level is such a big jump. And what I will also say about the high school recruiting, the transfer portal, whatever happens this year, even if Brent Pry was still the head coach and Tech did fine this year, it would be so much of a roster turnover anyways. Like that part of college football isn't really going to change too much. I think James Franklin gives you so much more out of the high school ranks. And I mentioned it earlier in the show, but what he also gives you in terms of maybe expanding your geographical area a little bit further north from what you had under Brent Pry and Justin Fuente, I think gives Virginia Tech a bit more of a competitive advantage, because for so long we've been going up against Clemson, Florida State. We've been going up against North Carolina when they were, the bee's knees and stuff like that. And then South Carolina.
I like how you used a Mac Brown phrase to describe
the bee's knees. They were the bee's knees, man. And I'll tell you, they were about as worthless. I mean, they sucked, but it didn't matter.
Funny.
And it's like,
you know how old Mac Brown is, because Eugene said he recruited him.
Jeez.
That's not an offense to Eugene. It's that Eugene went to high school in the 80s and Mac Brown was recruiting him back then.
Yeah.
This is maybe an open kind of question, but like, do we think he'll be able to get this roster to like what level do we think he's going to be able to get this roster to next year
for 2026?
Yeah.
So I believe that the best teams consistently in college football don't portal in guys year over year on a tremendous level. Your Ohio States, your Alabamas, your Georgias. It's still based in traditional high school recruiting. I think we'll eventually get there. However,
year one,
I think that what you're going to see, you're going to see a whole bunch of. We're going to be Penn State South. I legitimately
it seems that way.
It seems that way. And if we are, that is a preseason top 5 ranked potential team. That he was working.
You're saying eventually.
Eventually.
Yeah.
Now, but this year, I mean, depending on who you get, and again, it all has to flesh out and play out. In the conference that we are currently in and that we currently play in, it doesn't have to be a tremendous leap on the talent floor to be able to win successfully in the ACC.
Especially if you get competent coaching.
Yes.
Because that's what we have not had.
1,000%.
Because, okay, I'll put it to you this way, guys. 2025, Virginia Tech is 40th in the talent composite, meaning the number of 4 stars, 3 stars, you know what the talent composite is. On 247, we are 40th. What do you think we could get to next season? Could we get
upper 30s?
Up like 31, 32?
I think so.
Let me tell you how many 4 stars 31 has. 31 is North Carolina.
Yeah.
They have 19 4 stars. We have 17 4 stars.
Well, I also think it's like
there's like it's not like, you don't have to go that much more in terms of the talent to rise up a bunch.
I mean, you got to keep guys who are currently there though too. Like you got to keep Jeff Overton, which by what his dad tweeted today, I think we're
going to keep him based on that.
Yeah. You got to keep, like Gabe Williams was a 4-star. He was on that roster. He had, unfortunately, had the pretty horrific injury. He's back playing, but like, do you keep Gabe Williams? Do you
I
keep
have
some of
something.
these
Can I tell you
guys?
something encouraging? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No,
But I
you're good.
wanted to interrupt you to say this. Number
Interrupt me.
29 in the talent composite, Texas Tech.
Well, Pete, I don't know if we have how many fracking operations do we have?
That's not the
amongst
point,
three of us?
Sam. That's not the point. The point is we're 3, 4, 5 4-stars away from having the same talent as Texas Tech.
Correct.
Now, I'm
And
not
I
saying
think-
all those guys are as good. I'm just and that they'll all be as developed.
where
but I'm saying
what
the
position
line is
those
not
guys
that
play?
far away.
But if
You
you,
know
have
what
the best
position those
linebacker
guys
in college
play?
football,
Yeah. You
Well,
need
I mean, that he
dudes,
was-
right, Mike? Like you need dudes.
It's
like
offensive
some of
and
those
defensive
guys.
line. That's where those
Yeah.
guys are. And the guys who aren't, they brought like Jacob Rodriguez was not a highly recruited guy. They developed him into a stud. And then they got Bailey from Stanford, who's an NFL edge rusher, and they brought him in to supplement the guys that they had developed. And then they went ahead and much like we see Oregon and Ole Miss doing, they're going out and they're spending big money in the portal and they're ranking high in the portal, but they're getting guys to fill the spots they need. Oregon was like, oh, we need a left tackle. Who's the best left tackle on the market? Oh, it's this kid at Nevada. Yep, you're ours now. Boom.
Yep.
And now we have
You
a
drop-
first round left tackle.
you drop $2 million on a left tackle. You drop $2 million on the center. And then you can fill in and recruit your skill players. But everything starts, and if Coach Chung was still here, I know he would agree with this too. It all starts with the guys that are the closest to the ball.
Yep.
If you are the best, the closer to the ball you get, the better your whole team's going to be on both
And
sides.
I wasn't trying to say that just because if we were to match Texas Tech and talent composite, we're going to be as good as them, because you're right. It's more nuanced than that. Where are the guys playing the best? You have to develop the guys. They're not just a number anymore on a piece of paper. They actually have to play well at those positions. However, what I was trying to say is that, like, in terms of the talent you bring into the program, if we raise it just a little bit and you get good coaching, you can compete. You can be a top 25 team and you could be right there. Like, so if Franklin can, with the amount of recruiting he can do, if he could potentially get us into that top 25 of the talent composite, a blue chip ratio eventually, like, we're talking a whole different ball game of like competing in the ACC year in and year out.
For the last 4 years, right? We have said for the last 4 years, each of the last 4 years, we've been 15 to 20 plays away from having an 8-win, 9-win season, right? Those guys that you can get and those guys that you can bring in with the caliber level of coach that James Franklin is, I mean, that's your floor.
Yeah.
Now, and so like you're at that point, and in the ACC, which is, with, sorry to say, as weak overall as the conference is, like it has been up for grabs for a decade,
And now more
And-
up for grabs than ever with Clemson floundering.
yes, and it's right there, and all it takes is for someone to commit. We have been the first ones. We are now the first ones in the ACC to say we are all. Clemson always said that's their all in. That was Dabo's thing. We're all in, but they were all in with New Spring or whatever. We are now officially all in. We have invested in a coach
In the
We
modern
are in-
era.
in
We're
the
ready to
modern
do
era.
NIL.
Yes.
Yeah.
Everything. We realize as a university and as an athletic department that we have to do X, Y, and Z in order to be successful. And it was laid out.
Tim
So-
That's a
Tishman actually
great
makes-
comment.
He makes
Sorry.
a great point. This is actually a good
Yes.
point, because he says, LOL, fracking operation talent is elite, but we will have Nova government contracting money, which is still pretty good. And he is right. And it's something that Virginia Tech has never taken advantage of. Like, I'm being wholeheartedly serious. There is a ton of money in Nova, in the DMV.
Yeah.
And Virginia Tech is right there. If you can pull the right people and get the right amount of sponsorships and the right amount of connections, you can build this thing out. Because I know oil money is kind of in a different league, but government contractor money, that never goes away. Like, the government's always going to be contracting crap out.
Well, I mean, we had a couple months where they didn't. I will say this.
That's true.
Northbrook Grumman Field at Raytheon Stadium.
Bring it on.
Bring it on, baby.
Bring it on. I don't
Bring
care.
it on. Freedom ain't free, brother. Let's go.
Let's fund those Mike missiles. But yeah, so let's did you have any final thoughts on the Franklin thing, Mike? I wanted to.
Well, first off, I apologize for being late. I'm in Dallas, Texas, and I'm drinking my Shiner box. So.
I noticed the
Nice.
Shiner.
Nice.
I'll be in Texas over.
I forgot to ask
Thanksgiving.
Mike what he was
So,
drinking. So that's good.
Yeah, that's, but with honestly, I was in a meeting with a customer, and I walk out of the meeting, and I'm with my boss who came in from Florida, and I checked my phone, and I have 300 messages, and I'm like, okay, something happened.
You
and
know
I scroll
something
through, and I
happened,
like, and I'm literally, I was like, I've been waiting for it to happen. I didn't want to believe it was going to happen until it actually happened. I was hopeful, but now that it has happened, this is really, truly, I mean, outside of a super long shot like a Nick Saban, that was never going to happen. I think this is the best hire that Virginia Tech could make in this cycle. I honestly didn't think initially when Pry was fired that we could have, and then subsequently Franklin was like, I didn't think that it was possible. I didn't think there was any way, based on the 40 years of track record of being a fan of Virginia Tech, that we were going to actually commit to this. And now we have a guy that knows how to win. You can win at Vandy, you can win anywhere, right? You take over from the trash that Bill O'Brien left at Penn State and then turn it around to be able to win 9-10 games a year. Yes, I understand the skepticism of not being able to win the quote unquote big one, but how many other teams can't beat Michigan and Ohio State back to back? Like it's a tremendous challenge. However, in the ACC, being able to recruit the footprint that he's already shown he can dominate the Commonwealth of Virginia, I think really the sky's the limit for Virginia Tech football. I don't want to oversell it, but truly, I think we can reach heights that we haven't reached since 1999 if we continue the level of commitment. And it's going to require not just the big donors, not the Mahuls of the world, but literally everybody. If you rock a VT on your shirt, commit to the program, donate money, put it on a t-shirt, lock it in. It's got to keep going, and you have to keep fundraising. You have to keep going, because if we can lock this in for a continual length or a long amount of time, we can do great things at this school.
I mean, the next 5 years are not only important from getting a seat at the table in college football, which they absolutely are. They are important from a fundraising standpoint and a Virginia Tech making sure they're a part of your life standpoint to our alumni, because of the age of the alumni. And I've been on this for a long time. I've always said the kids like me who went to Virginia Tech because of Michael Vick, which I absolutely did. I mean that wholeheartedly. I would have not known what Virginia Tech was if it wasn't for Michael Vick, being a kid from Delaware. I saw they had a good engineering program after hearing about the football, and I was like, okay, I'll go there. I was one of a million, and that's an exaggeration.
And here you are.
and I'm spewing bullshit on the internet. But no, the children of Vic, as I like to call them, are all becoming 40, 38, mid 40s, and they're starting to have money. As we move through the next few years, and they have their own businesses and they have disposable income, it is more important than ever to have Virginia Tech and the culture of fundraising and giving to be a huge part of our success. It's as important as it is ever, and this hire might be perfectly timed to take advantage of it.
Yeah, I'm a rarity these days where you have someone who's multi-generational, but I'll put it this way. There's no way I would have gotten in to Virginia Tech if it had been 3 years later. I got in the fall of '99. My freshman football season was the perfect miracle
That's
season.
incredible.
And
That's
so
incredible.
but there's no way that with I'm not a dumbass. I taught school for years, but
The standards had gone up.
The standards raised tremendously. So it's something that is, you're 100% right. And I have fraternity brothers of mine that have lost faith over the past 5, 6, 7 years and no longer feel the urge or inclination to donate because of what this is.
It's been a kick in the nuts every single season. I mean,
and so it's reinvigorating so many more people. I think I've gotten texts from people who I haven't talked to in like a year this afternoon and evening about this. And it's something that, I was at the beginning of the season, Pete, you and I talked about this. I felt like Virginia Tech was becoming the butt of the joke, right? It was like every time Enter Sandman played, it was like, that was kind of a joke. Like they're laughing with you and at you a little bit, and the close games and all that stuff. This is to be in the news for making a big boy football move like this is a program changer. Now you have to go out, and when Virginia Tech plays, who's the first game next year? Like VMI or something.
VMI.
Like you got to win games on the field, right? Like that's the thing that matters.
You put up 77 week 1.
Well, listen, JMU's on the schedule next year. Franklin can't lose that game. I'm gonna say it right now.
We're saying that right now. Is that a must win?
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
We hired him instead of Chesney. You better win that game.
Well, Chesney's going to be at Penn State, so.
Well, that could be true too. But I'm just saying, JMU has been a better football program than Virginia Tech over the past 5 years.
Yes. Yeah. 100%.
I mean, it's not saying we wouldn't have won on the field the last couple of years, but like overall, they are a better run program. Now, if James Franklin's going to come in and demand competency in Merriman, that's as big as anything else he's going to do, because we need the organizational success before we can have on-field success. And
piggyback on that, his next biggest move after this press conference, and I assume half-court speech at the basketball game Wednesday night, which is must-see television. But also, please, if you're listening to this and you're on campus or you're in the remote area of Blacksburg, show your ass up to Castle Coliseum, because it's an open press conference, open to the public. Let's do everything we can. His next biggest thing is to make sure the GM hire is you cannot understate how important that's going to be.
Well, okay, let me say this, because we were talking a little bit about this earlier, Mike. With James being the ace recruiter that he is, does that kind of take a little bit of pressure off of the GM hire?
I don't think so, because of the role that's going to play. Now, because he's essentially the director of player personnel, he's going to be the NIL funneler. He's going to be doing a lot of the logistical bullshit, pardon my French, that is something that I think Pry had a little too much hands-on in during his reign, or may have had too much play in. That if you can push that off onto a general manager role and just keep your mind focused on the product on the field, and then be able to have a guy be able to handle the player personnel and the NIL and all that stuff, I think it's going to be a game changer. But and I think it's great that we hired the coach. Now the coach can hire somebody that he trusts to be that GM role, to be able to kind of run things. Yeah.
Exactly. Trusted Penn State cultured guy, Hazel.
Well, I'll say this. I think there's two ways you can go. Right?
I'm joking.
You can
I'm
go.
being a jerk.
You can go like NFL GM, where like you make the personnel decisions, you help make the coaching hires. You are very much a football guy as an NFL GM. The college GM route is a little bit more what Mike was saying with NIL, managing donations, managing the roster. You're the spreadsheet. You're almost the accountant for the football roster.
It's a totally
right?
different role than the pro GM.
And so that's
totally different.
That's a decision, because I think what we were sold initially from Virginia Tech was the pro GM model. We're going to get a football guy in here. That's why initially I came on here and I said Jeff King, right? He's been with the Bears as a scout and player development and acquisition for forever now. He's done a great job there over the past couple of years since he got to that senior level for the Bears, and he's done a great job. That's why I was like, that's the guy. If you could get him from the NFL ranks, that'd be amazing. But now with the recruiting acumen of James Franklin and maybe some of the guys that he wants to bring in, maybe you do go for the guy to play CEO, because I think one of the issues with Brent Pry, if you were to put like a 5,000 foot executive view on it, is Brent Pry for the first time tried to be a CEO, a head coach, and a defensive coordinator. And it was too much for anybody, but especially somebody who didn't have the experience at the head level that he did. And I think that all ultimately led to the failures that we saw down the road. With James Franklin, do you let him be a ball coach? Does he learn from that and say, I just need to be a ball coach? Somebody else
because
be the CEO?
to me, I did it again. James Franklin. James Franklin.
Didn't he produce Full House or something like that?
I think
I'm going to Google Jeff Franklin while you say this.
James Franklin, his best asset is talent acquisition. Like that is his best asset. So do not take that away from him. Like that's his thing. And no matter what in college sports, the head coach is always going to be the face of the program. It's never going to be the GM. The GM's not going to be going out and getting players. It's going to be the head coach. It's going to be the OC. It's going to be the position coaches. The GM, he is going to be doing books, and he might be funneling the NIL. And I think there's going to be a lot more administrative tasks, some talent evaluation, some tape evaluation, but you cannot not allowing James Franklin to essentially be the de facto GM is a mistake. Like that's the thing he's best at. Like it really is.
Well, and I agree 100%. The idea that you want to take the recruiting aspect away from James Franklin is, I think that's null and void at this point. No one's ever gonna step on those toes.
Yeah.
But I think this guy is going to be whoever they hire is going to be the perfect liaison to the Hokie club. I think it might even be one and the same.
That's what we need. Yeah.
Yeah. It's going to be a guy that can take the money from Triumph and the Hokie club and be able to correctly funnel it in the proper channels to be able to best utilize. It's really going to be a CFO, not necessarily. So James Franklin's going to be the CEO and your GM is going to be the CFO.
Yeah.
And I think, he's going to be able to get a staff. Again, you probably talked about this earlier. Hopefully, I think you can maybe keep Elijah Brooks, maybe even look at keeping Matt Moore.
Yeah, we didn't go so much into detail, but those are definitely two guys I think a lot of people would like to keep, especially Brooks. I mean, Brooks has been amazing for us.
Brooks has been great. He's got connections in the DMV. So, and so it's and I'm sure he knows Franklin from when he was a high school coach in the DMV and Franklin was recruiting his kids. So there's probably already a relationship there. Again, Matt Moore doesn't have enough of a deep-seated connection into the previous regime to be tainted in any way. And I think what he's done, as we talked with Coach Chung earlier, they have to because of injuries, piecemeal kids together on an offensive line and still have increased expected points added in our run game, and be able to all the the stat stuff. I know Sam and Pete, y'all do so much more.
I mean, he's making chicken salad out of chicken shit is what you're trying to say.
1,000%. And
I mean, and it's still not great. It doesn't taste great, that chicken salad, but it's in the run game, it's doing something.
Imagine if we could throw it at least 5 yards.
Yes.
what
5?
we could do. Yeah, at least 5. But right now we're at what, 3.5? Give me a yard and a half more, and we're good. But again, that is a what I'm just over the moon at potential
I love
of the
Mike.
potential of what can happen.
You and Robert and Brett and Paul, our 4 guests that we've had on tonight, other than Eugene, Coach Chung, I should put some respect on his name. You guys have all been saying the same thing in the best way possible, in that this is a huge day. It's a monumental move, as I said right at the top of this show. It proves that we are for real. We are trying to be relevant yet again. And it may not happen in year 1, but it may, because right off the bat, he's going to be bringing in talent and all the benefits, whether it's the donations or the recruiting or the staff that he can bring. It's all huge. He will nail off the field things.
And don't get me wrong. I said it before. I 100% understand all of the skepticism. So everything about not being able to win the big one, everything else, all of that is completely understood. However, his track record outside of that speaks for itself in volumes.
It's too big. It's been too good to deny.
To deny. Yes.
Yes. I understand that. I do. And I think Sam knows that. And I think even Irby and Brett know that. They give me a hard time, but I'm super pumped about this. Are you kidding me? Like this, the fact that every outlet's talking about it. You know what was funny about all the national response to this? One of the funniest things I saw was Portnoy. Did you guys see his tweet?
I did see his tweet.
I saw Brandon Walker's. I did not see
Portnoy's. Man. Brandon Walker's. This has not been a good season for Brandon Walker.
No, he's been getting he's been
getting hit left and right. Yeah.
But no, what Portnoy said was they probably should have gone with Gruden, but Franklin's a good hire.
That's a pretty funny tweet. That was pretty funny.
I mean, Gruden works for Barstool, but that is quite funny. Anyway, Mike, do you mind if we say goodbye so we can finish out some stuff? And but we wanted to get your reaction.
I got work in the morning. I got to go to bed at some point.
Yes,
I do.
All right, Mike, it was good chatting with you. We'll talk to you soon, buddy.
See you, dog.
All right, Sam. I just wanted to say a couple things, and we'll do our playoffs, and we'll get out of here. Other interesting games from the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Clemson came back to beat Louisville 20-19.
Disgusting football game.
Gross, awful game. Just an awful game.
Klubnik
was terrible. Moss was terrible, but Clemson got the win. Just to make the ACC look extra bad, we get Louisville an extra loss. Georgia Tech came back and beat BC.
Mm-hmm.
King over 400 yards in the comeback. They had so many, they had 600 yards of offense. They just kept screwing up, but they won. The problem for GT is their defense sucks.
Georgia might put 50 up on them. I'm not.
Is your hope for them beating Georgia just gone?
It's gone. I don't. Man, no, it's gone.
All right. Ohio State, Indiana, Texas Tech, Utah, BYU, Miami, they all crushed this past weekend. Miami, that performance against NC State, that was dominant. They didn't give up anything.
Miami's ceiling is still natty.
Right. It really is.
Mm-hmm.
But they screwed up. They lost 2 games, and so they might not get in the playoff. But Ole Miss gets a scare from Florida, but they won and covered 34-24. Notre Dame spanked Pitt. That was a bad read by me on that one. I really thought. And you know what, Sam? Narduzzi got his wish. They got smoked.
Yeah, I mean, there was a clear size, speed, strength issue going on in that game. Usually Pitt holds themselves physically. That was not close.
Jiminy Christmas gives to the Hokie Club for the first time since 2022. Nice.
And that was also Notre Dame missed a field goal and threw the ball on a 4th and goal from the 1 yard. That game could have been worse.
I mean, Notre Dame didn't even play that good.
No.
And they smoked Pitt.
Is Hammond out? Is the that running back out for Pitt for a bit? Hammond, I believe it is.
I don't know off the top of my head.
I think that's a big That's a big injury for that Georgia Tech.
And they have
matchup
two
this
really
weekend.
tough games coming up against
Yep.
Miami and Georgia
Yep.
Tech, or Georgia Tech and then Miami. Michigan got all it could handle from Northwestern in Wrigley. They end up prevailing, but it was hella close. Manny Diaz is and always has been a fraud. He put up a horrible effort, him and his Duke squad against UVA. UVA just outclassed them in every sense.
I give a lot of credit to UVA for bouncing back and putting together a complete performance. It wasn't just the defense was good. It wasn't just the offense outscored them. It's a complete performance in all three phases for UVA.
How impressed were you with Arizona going into Cincinnati and getting that win?
I mean, I pulled up my notes from the last College Football Monday from last week, and I'm going through the Big 12 scenarios, and that Cincinnati loss opens up some of these other scenarios. So it opens some stuff up. Now, it opens things up for Arizona State. It opens things up for Houston. Opens things up for BYU. Cincy is still alive. That game next week, BYU traveling to Cincy. BYU, just absolutely mollywop TCU at home, Provo. That game was never close. If you look at Cincy's schedule, maybe a little bit of schedule merchants this year.
Yeah, it's not been a tough schedule.
And BYU, I think, looks really good. So I think we're looking at Texas Tech versus BYU rematch in the Big 12 title game, unless, if BYU loses this game, it could get dicey there.
I think Cincinnati could win the game, but if it was on a neutral field, I'm taking BYU. It's just like
it's at Nippert.
Yeah, it's at Nippert. So I don't know. You got a team from Provo going to Cincinnati. It's just weird. I don't know.
A random fact that I don't know if it's true, but it's in my head. I believe Nippert is the longest continual use stadium in college football. It might be behind Bobby Dodd at Georgia Tech.
It's that old?
It's old, dude.
Oh, man.
It's old.
All right. ECU in the G6. ECU over Memphis. Dramatic one in Greenville. ECU keeps that one-loss record in the AAC. They're going to have a chance to get to the title game. JMU smashed. ODU smashed. Southern Miss lost to Texas State. A winless Texas State in conference up until this past weekend.
Texas State was better than their record, and Southern Miss probably wasn't as good as their record, but that was a wild final score.
They crushed them. Yeah. And then Coastal lost to Georgia State. So JMU is now locked in to the Sun Belt title game.
Yes, they are.
And Southern Miss, Troy got beat by ODU, but Troy could still get there.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So, but it does take away some of the luster of what would be the Sun Belt championship game with Southern Miss losing. San Diego State took down Boise 17-7. They moved to 5-1. There are 5 teams at 4-2 in the Mountain West behind 5-1. So it is anybody's guess who's going to play in that championship game.
I think San Diego State is a class above everybody else right now.
Definitely.
And it's an ugly class. They're not pretty, but they have 2 running backs that are really good. They have a swarming defense. They have lockdown corners. They have really good special teams. They're doing everything right. Sean Lewis needs to get either a bag of money to stay in San Diego, or he needs to get a bag of money somewhere else.
Western Michigan won and looks to be in good shape for the MAC title game. There are 5 teams behind them at 4-2. So both of those 2 conferences are wacky. You add in the American, which has a bunch of teams with 1 loss. Anything else I'm missing from this past weekend? I think that's just it.
Utah whooped up on Baylor.
Yeah, they did.
Whooped up on them. I'll tell
Dave
you,
Aranda's done.
He's done. But the more interesting thing is Utah is going to be ranked pretty highly in the college football playoff. With Texas Tech winning, I don't believe Utah can make the Big 12 title game.
No, I don't
think they're out of it. So, yeah, because they needed Texas Tech to go 0-2. They basically needed to jump Texas Tech in the standings.
You need them to be an at-large, but you need BYU to lose more games. Like you're saying, what's their path to the playoff?
You need
BYU has to lose to Cincinnati.
I don't think it can happen.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a really weird situation where they're ranked in position and then they don't get in
Because the
they're kicked
G6
out.
gets in.
They're
or the
kicked out for
ACC,
the ACC.
yeah.
Dude, I think they could be above the ACC champion. I think they could be above 2 different G6 champions.
Well, how about this? You got BYU. If they were 11-1, lose in the conference title game, Miami 10-2, and let's just say for the sake of argument, they don't play in the conference title game. So you've got 11-2 BYU with both losses coming to Texas Tech. You've got 10-2 Miami. Who do you think who would make the playoff in the eyes of the committee, or who do you think should make the playoffs?
That's a great segue into our playoff picks.
Yeah, let's do it. Let me add
the answer to that. Oh, sorry. The answer to that question is another SEC team.
Always.
That's
always
the
answer.
reality here. Like, I think that's the answer because I don't think the committee is going to want to choose between 2 teams from the ACC and the Big 12 that aren't champions. So I think they're just going to put in an SEC team or Notre Dame.
Yeah. So
Because
Sam's got 5 SEC now. He had 5 last week, but you swapped out Texas for Oklahoma.
Swapped out Texas for Oklahoma, even though Texas has that head-to-head on a neutral field. But Oklahoma's resume is speaking for itself right now. So I have A&M, Georgia, Bama, who stays in, skin of their teeth, Bama, Oklahoma, and Ole Miss. Out of the Big Ten, it's the same 3, Ohio State, Oregon, Indiana. Out of the ACC, I'm sticking with Georgia Tech, but by golly, Jackets, you better win next week. By golly, I don't want to hear a peep-a-doodly-doo out of Brent Key if they lose that game. Not a word. Texas Tech is a dominant force in the Big 12. I think they might be a top 5 seed. And then
they're
G5,
really good.
JMU, they control their own destiny. They are belt to ass against everybody they're playing right now. And then Notre Dame looks really good. I think they have a very good resume. I think their 2 losses happening at the beginning of the season is playing a really big factor into it right now. And that USC win is aging pretty well.
If I'm Miami and I'm dealing with all this bullshit after I beat Notre Dame, one, either cancel the game with Notre Dame next year, which I think they do have one. But if you are going to play Notre Dame ever again during the regular season, demand that it's in week 10 or something, because it's garbage. It is garbage that they're not getting any credit for that win. And I don't even like Miami, and I think it's garbage.
I think it's going to be really, really difficult for Miami to not make an ACC title game and sell itself to the committee.
I agree with you, Jimmy. I think Cincinnati is going to upset BYU. Or you're saying he may be saying he disagrees, but I think they can. Nippert's tough.
Yeah, Nippert's a tough place.
All right,
to
so let
play
me add
long
mine to
time.
the screen. The only differences I have from
Ooh.
Sam, because this is the exact same SEC I had last week. I had OU and Bama both in there last week. Sticking with it, Texas gets the 3rd loss. They're done. Big, same thing. Ohio State, Oregon, Indiana. In the ACC, I'm sticking with SMU. I put them last week in because I think they're going to get into the ACC championship game, and I think they're better than UVA. I think they're better than Georgia Tech. And so if they get there, which they beat Louisville, it's right there for them. They got Louisville this weekend at home. SMU is in the ACC championship game, and they could very well win it. And then I've got the mean green of North Texas as my G5 representative because they only have 1 loss. They're going to make the AAC title game. They already smoked Navy this year. And so if it happens to be Navy against North Texas, I like my chances with North Texas. And I think North Texas is better than ECU. So North Texas 1 loss is to USF. USF is cooked. I mean, they unless North Texas has a bad upset in the next 2 weeks, which they could, USF screwed. They're done. And they're not going to make the AAC title game. So I like North Texas to win. And because they have 1 loss and JMU has 1 loss and they're the American champ, committee's going to put them in.
I don't disagree with that totally. However, what I do disagree with is would they put JMU over SMU if SMU wins it?
No, they wouldn't, because SMU would have to beat Louisville this weekend. Then Well, I forget what the last game is for SMU. I don't think it's anybody very good. But SMU is only like 3 spots out of the AP.
I believe it's like Cal or Stanford.
Yeah.
It might be Cal.
But SMU would be 9-3, and an ACC championship victory over what's going to be a 10-win UVA or maybe not a 10-win UVA, but
Don't
a
say
10-win
that.
Georgia Tech.
Don't say that.
It could happen.
Makes me sad.
I think that's going to be more than enough to keep them above the American champion. Like or at the very least, not above. Like they're not going to put SMU behind JMU and Mean Green.
I mean, so I think at that point you're saying, so it basically boils down to the 2 good wins for SMU would nullify, Miami and one of UVA or Georgia Tech, because I don't think Louisville counts there anymore. So you're saying that would trump the a 12-1 conference title team.
You also have to understand that by SMU beating Louisville, that hurts JMU.
That is true. That's a good connection to make. Yep.
So I just think they're not going to leave out a power conference champion with what would be a 10-3 record for a G5. They're just not going to do it.
Okay. Yeah. I would be utterly, utterly shocked if SMU wins the ACC.
You picked them last week. Oh, no, you picked them to be in the game.
I picked them to be in it. I think it's going to be Georgia Tech, SMU, and I think Georgia Tech's going to win.
I'd be fine with that. I mean, that game could go either way, but that's my pick too. I think it's going to be GT and SMU.
What a year for Texas. Like I could definitely see SMU travels to Lubbock first round, and then the winner of that game.
Oh my God, I just realized
Texas
how much
A&M.
Texas there is on this screen.
With no Texas.
with not even the Longhorns, because they're done. Which even if Texas were to beat A&M, we went over this already. They have the loss to Florida plus 2 other losses. They're not getting in. They're just not getting in.
I also don't think they're beating Texas A&M.
No, they won't.
No.
I mean, they just got beat 35-10 by Georgia, so I don't think they're very good. But yeah, it's been a heck of a year for the Texas schools, without a doubt.
Mm-hmm.
That oil money, man, been a good season. All right, that's it, man. We could talk a little bit about the games upcoming weekend. I mean, the biggest one is Oregon and USC. I think that's like the most implication game.
No, the most implication game is the Brawl of the Wild between number 2 Montana and number 3 Montana State.
Yes, sir.
And the fact that College Game Day is not going to be there is a farce and a disgrace to the sport of college football.
JMU thought they were getting game day this week.
Why did JMU think they were getting it? They play
Washington State, Wazoo.
Who's terrible.
I'm just saying there was reports from the JMU blogosphere that they were getting game day, and they are not. But do you know where they're going? Are they going to Oregon?
They're going to USC Oregon. They're going back to Oregon.
Yeah. Did you see the last 2 opponents for Notre Dame? This is the other thing about Notre Dame in the playoff, which we didn't discuss on our graphics, but like their strength of schedule is about to take a nosedive. They're playing Syracuse and then Stanford the last 2 weeks of the season. I really think, like, if Miami could get their shit together and actually win all the rest of the games, they could get in over Notre Dame. They really could, because they've got the head-to-head, and when the committee meets,
same record head-to-head,
and what was the other thing? Well, the Alabama like common opponent with Florida State was one thing, because both those teams would be 10-2, but the head-to-head thing should be enough. And once you stack it up, if they both get to 10-2 and they've both beaten Pitt and they played and Miami won, I don't know how you could leave Miami out. When Miami's losses, especially if SMU wins the ACC,
that'd be your loss in overtime.
One of your 2 losses is to a champion. Like, I just think you can't leave Miami out at that point.
And that's a dangerous team if they get on a roll.
Dude, no one wants to play Miami in the playoff because they play bad as a favorite, but they're probably going to be underdogs against whoever they go up against in the playoff.
We shall see, my man. I mean, I can't wait. This is going to be a really fun weekend of sports. just in
Yes,
general.
it is. There really aren't a ton.
Sports
of
ball
other,
is going good.
Marquee. Oh, the Tulane at Temple game is this weekend.
That is huge too.
Something to watch. Pitt and GT. Important game in the ACC, and then BYU Cincinnati. Those are your big ones. All right, that's going to do it for the pod. We're about to hit 3 hours, and that's fine because this was a big night. We had to cover a lot. I will cut up some of the interviews and stuff. If you made it to the end, put in the chat. What do you think it should be, Sam? We could go. With...
Let's just ride the algorithm and do James Franklin 2 Virginia Tech.
You can do James Franklin with the number 2, all one, or you can spell it out. You can use the spaces. I know someone was making fun of me for saying spaces were too hard last week. I think it was Hokie Sapp who always comments. Probably. But thank you guys for being here. Make sure you're subscribed on the YouTube channel, to the 2D podcast feed, to the Sons of Saturday podcast feed. Rate and review us if you have the time. And until next time, go Hokies.
Go Hokies.